Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. In the Marine, the lightsaber I invented slashed Kaido. Chapter 31. It can't be raining, is it? The sky darkened, and the first reaction of the burning mountain was rain. Bamboo dragonflies have a taboo, that is, when it rains, try not to use them. Otherwise, it is very likely to attract thunder and lightning and slash on your own body. This is not that bamboo dragonflies attract thunder and lightning, but the iron equipment carried by the soldiers and so on. Especially in the Grand Line, a place with chaotic weather, lightning is a common occurrence. Just when Burning Mountain hesitated whether to change his plan, I saw that the darkness in the sky that blocked the sun suddenly enlarged in his pupils, and quickly turned into a huge creature that meandered and circled, covering the sky. It is swooping down at breakneck speed towards the marine base below. With just one glance, the smile on Fire Mountain's face instantly turned into horror. The next moment, enemy attack, enemy attack. Burning Mountain roared in the loudest voice. At the same time, with the deputy at his side, he immediately retreated sharply and evacuated the port in place. The soldiers on the warship were also startled by this sound and looked up one after another. A hideous dragon head as huge as a small mountain came into everyone's eyes, and the dragon's eyes looked down on everyone indifferently. It's 4 emperors, Kaido of the beasts. A harsh scream resounded in the sky. The next moment, a huge black shadow fell, smashing into a warship docked, and the terrifying impact force caused the entire warship to disintegrate and explode in an instant. Bang! The fire burst into the sky and the dust billowed out. Fortunately, most of the soldiers, the moment Kaido rushed down, had already jumped into the sea. Otherwise, 1,000 soldiers will be damaged here. They fluttered and swam back to the coast, each with palpitations. At this time, looking at a sea of fire on the pier, there was a throbbing for the rest of his life after the disaster, and there were also puzzled doubts. What's going on? How did 4 emperors Kaido fall here? Quote. This. Did he crash and die himself? Quote. Really fake, 4 emperors died like that. Looking at the billowing sea of gunfire, all the soldiers felt unbelievable. Compared with the suspicion of the soldiers, Vice Admiral, the commander-in-chief of the base, unconsciously left a drop of cold sweat on his forehead. Not happy because Kaido fell from a height. No one knows better than Marine's top generals how powerful and terrifying the 4 emperors are. Tap tap. Then, within the smoke of the flames in the sky, a behemoth stepped out. The burly body, rough image, and invisible momentum are oppressed on everyone's heart. 4 emperors Kaido of the beasts. Seeing this scene, many soldiers in the base gasped one after another. Burning Mountain couldn't help but pull out the long sword at his waist and pointed at Kaido, who came out of the sea of fire, with a livid expression. Kaido, you actually attacked our marine base, have you ever thought about the consequences? Quote. At the same time, his heart was already terrified. The first thing that came to mind was that Kaido was most likely here for the bamboo dragonfly. Eyeing this new equipment from Marine, I wanted to take it for myself. Otherwise, Kaido has no reason to disrupt the status quo in New World. Since the birth of the 4 pirate emperors in New World, it has been a long time since they balanced each other for this reason. Not to mention the Marine, even the 4 emperors rarely clashed with each other. The reason is simple, no one wants to spend their own strength and let others benefit. Attacking Marine is even more foolish. Once retaliated by Marine, if the 2 are locked in a bitter battle, they will be profited by the other 4 emperors. And Marine is not willing to waste its strength to gnaw hard bones like 4 emperors. If these pirates are pressed, they may jump off the wall, but will cause more damage. However, today Kaido personally upset this balance, catching Burning Mountain off guard. The only thing that could put Burning Mountain at ease was that his soldiers were ready for battle. Everyone took up arms and aimed at Kaido. Ooh! Hearing the words of the Burning Mountain, Kaido threw his head back and laughed maniacally, full of mocking gestures. It was Marine who began to develop weapons and was ready to deal with Wano Kuni. I'm just going to start first. What's more, pirates and Marine are incompatible in themselves. What about attacking the Marine branch? That's what pirates should do. Soon Kaido is in the middle of the crowd and finds what he is looking for. It was a group of apparently better equipped soldiers, all with strange things on their heads. Marine's cross-era equipment, the bamboo dragonfly. Exactly like in the newspapers. You Marine, you've crossed the line. Narrowing his smile, Kaido grinned and said murderously. Crossing the line. Hearing this, Burning Mountain was stunned for a moment, and then reacted. I saw Kaido's gaze, staring coldly at the elite soldiers, or to be correct, the bamboo dragonflies above their heads. Oops. Seeing Kaido's gaze, he already understood that this guy really came for the bamboo dragonfly. Attack. Give me a desperate attempt to destroy Kaido. When the opportunity was immediately made, Burning Mountain roared and gave the order to attack. Now that you have already made a move, in the face of monsters like 4 emperors, you must strike first as much as possible. The next moment, Marine in the square attacked, and the fire snake spat out. Bullets and artillery fell on Kaido like a tide, exploding flames and smoke. Billowing dust covers the sky. The power is so great that even a Sea Kings will instantly turn into ashes. Great. All hit. Quote, Kaido, that's all. We've wiped out the 4 emperors. The soldiers were cheering and celebrating their victory. They do not understand what kind of enemy they are facing. Idiot. This is a monster called the 4 emperors. Don't be careless. The fire is urgent. Burning Mountain knew exactly what 4 emperors meant. Ordinary troops can only be miscellaneous fish in the face of this kind of combat effectiveness. As soon as the words fell, there was smoke in the sky. Kaido roared and rushed out, speeding like a beast, towards the elite squad. At the moment of crisis, Burning Mountain came over instantly, and the long sword in his hand blocked Kaido's path. However, Kaido just swung his mace casually, and the terrifying force broke through the air and emitted a sharp sonic boom. Rumble. The mace collides with the long knife. The mountain-like heavy power was transmitted to the body of the Burning Mountain in an instant. The next moment, his whole person flew out upside down. It smashed heavily on the walls of the fortified fortress, making a booming sound, smashing a gap abruptly, and scattering dust. It can well be imagined. How terrifying is the casual blow of the 4 emperors. Even Marine's elite Vice Admiral Burning Mountain will be driven into the depths of the fortress. Seeing this, the soldiers at the base were all horrified. Vice Admiral, Mr. Burning Mountain, is this the power of the 4 emperors? The only thing that could remain sane was the small group of elite soldiers. They wore bamboo dragonflies and wanted to fly to the rescue of Vice Admiral. But alas, how could Kaido get their way? Oh boo, are these gadgets bamboo dragonflies? Quote, lousy wants it. With the words falling, the burly body, carrying the mace, walked directly towards them. This moment, the many marine fighters at the base reacted. Stop Kaido, he's here for the bamboo dragonfly. There were soldiers bursting into drink. The surrounding soldiers even risked their lives and blocked Kaido's inevitable path. It is bound to stop Kaido's progress. However, in front of the 4 emperors, their resistance is like a mantis is a car. Completely vulnerable. Get out of the way for lousy. Kaido wields his mace, and the storm is enough to tear them apart. The burly body, quickly like thunder, killed in all directions in the crowd, and even approached the elite soldiers, knocked down several flying elite squad members, and snatched a few bamboo dragonflies. This thing, looking at such an inconspicuous thing in his hand, Kaido was puzzled. Is something so small that it can make people fly? If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, Kaido couldn't believe that this gadget actually had such a magical ability. But the facts are ahead. Confirmed eyes, this is what I want to grab. Bang, bang. At this time, the soldiers on the periphery also surrounded him, and a steady stream of guns continued to hit Kaido's body. Some marine even went inside the base bunker to bring out seastone weapons that were specially designed to deal with those who were capable. Trash fish, trouble. Kaido grinned, giving a cruel smile. Rumble. When the words fell, a strong and domineering aura rushed in all directions like a monstrous wave. Conqueror's Haki, a hurricane that swept around, causing a wild cry out of thin air. With just one face, many soldiers in the square could not bear it, and they all foamed at the mouth and passed out. The remaining sober elite non-commissioned officers were still able to barely support. However, it is only barely supported. In the face of Kaido's unfathomable strength, all attacks were in vain. HMPH, Lousy thought how amazing Marine's new equipment was, and it turned out to be just that. Kaido looked at the bamboo dragonfly in his hand and muttered to himself. The purpose of coming here has been half achieved. Although there are no rumored subversive weapons, it is enough for Kaido to snatch these bamboo dragonflies. Next, all he had to do was return to Wano Kuni and give the bamboo dragonfly to Quinn to crack. It's just that, just as Kaido was about to leave. Rumble. In the direction of the fortress, the gap that was smashed through the burning mountain suddenly leapt out of a figure, blocking Kaido's way. For the sake of justice, you can't be allowed to take away the bamboo dragonfly. It's Vice Admiral. He was very embarrassed, with blood on his forehead and a broken cloak of justice behind him. The long knife also had a crack. But, even so, there was still no retreat. Ooh. Looking down at the shaky marine man in front of him, Kaido's eyes changed slightly, but his tone was extremely disdainful. I took the thing, this is a warning to Marine. Let you also know that in the face of absolute power, the so-called technology is not worth mentioning. Quote. In his opinion, the burning mountain is not worth mentioning, and it is no different from the ordinary soldiers around him. In the eyes of the dragon, what is the difference between sheep and hungry wolves? At the snap of a finger. Unless I die, don't think about leaving so easily. Burning Mountain's eyes stared deadly, the bamboo dragonfly in Kaido's hand. Marine's cross-era equipment must not fall into the hands of pirates. In particular, Sengoku has allocated himself so many bamboo dragonflies, which is his trust in Burning Mountain. Burning the mountain absolutely, justice will not be allowed to be shamed. Lifting the long sword in his hand, Burning Mountain rushed towards Kaido again. Haki emerged from him, wrapped around the long knife, and slashed sharply, with an indomitable determination. Don't measure yourself, Kaido sneered, and the smile on his face gradually became dangerous. The next moment, when the long knife came closer, he swung it out with a mace. Similarly, armament Haki is also around. Heaven and earth rub lightning. Rumble. The furious power was cathartic, like a meteorite falling. As soon as the long knife came into contact with the mace, it shattered in an instant, turning into fragments and spilling away. At the same time, the trend of the mace continued, and the right hand that fell on the burning mountain, together with the arm, instantly exploded, spilling blood into the air. Ah! With a scream, the burning mountain flew out again and fell violently to the ground. Blood stained his snow-white military uniform. Vice Admiral. Lord Burning Mountain. The elite Marine non-commissioned officers who could still stand went to rescue the burning mountain despite the danger. Even the soldiers flying with bamboo dragonflies in the air are not far away now. Guns, artillery, burst in an instant. Bang bang bang. Shells and bullets covered Kaido, and smoke billowed into the sky. However, how can Kaido, who has an immortal body, be hurt by guns, which will only anger him? Oh, it seems that blood is destined to be shed. An indifferent voice came from the fire. Kaido lifted the mace, and his body exuded a dangerous aura. Walking towards the elites, he wants to completely raze the G6 branch to the ground. Only in this way can Marine know what will happen to him. Wait a minute. At this time, an embarrassed, but firm voice came. Turning his head, Kaido's eyes flashed with surprise. The fallen burning mountain, supporting the ground with his only remaining left hand, stood up with difficulty, his figure shaking, like a lonely boat in a storm, which would capsize at any time. This is a battle between the two of us. Burning Mountain gasped and raised his eyes to stare at Kaido. Oh, you can still stand up, I thought you were dead. Kaido was a little surprised, and did not expect that he would stand up if he was seriously injured. For the sake of justice, I cannot fall. Fire Burning Mountain straightened his waist, and a force erupted from his body. This is the power that comes with burning life. Oh. Kaido tilted his head and said lightly, since you are not willing to survive, then I will send you on your way. Quote. What a battle between two people, it is simply ridiculous. In Kaido's view, this is not a battle. Rather, a hunt, a slaughter. How can I ask for pirates, what noble qualities I have, I just want to hit you. Burning Mountain's only remaining left hand pulled out the lightsaber at his waist and pointed at Kaido and drank. Is your head broken? Knock me down with a stick. Ha 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 ha. Quote. Kaido glanced lightly and immediately looked up and laughed maniacally. A metal stick that seems to be made of alloy. That's right, too. Now this guy probably doesn't have the strength to pick up the long sword that fell in the distance. It's just that you want to die. Kaido has met a lot of these stupid guys, and they are all dead without exception. Dead very stupid. In the face of Kaido's ridicule, Burning Mountain expressionlessly launched another attack. Kaido didn't pay attention to the metal handle of the Burning Mountain at all. Even Haki is not used because it is no longer necessary. Just when Burning Mountain was only a few meters away from Kaido, something happened to me. The metal stick in the hand of the Burning Mountain strangely popped out red light, forming the appearance of a long sword. Kaido had a sense of foreboding and vigilance in his heart. Kaido, who has always faced any enemy and is not afraid at all, his pupils shrank sharply, and a strong sense of death crisis passed all over his body in an instant, making him stand up all over his body. Instinctively, I felt that this strange light long sword had the power to tear itself apart. Kaido subconsciously dodged. However, it's already too late. At this time, the Burning Mountain came closer, and the beam-like long sword almost touched Kaido's skin. His huge body could not completely dodge, and could only barely avoid the point. The next moment, lightsabers fall. Unlike any attack Kaido had endured before, the lightsaber easily broke through his dragon scales. Cut directly into the flesh and blood. Even the bones, cannot stop the slightest. See, it's about to go deep into the internal organs. The pain came from the wound, and Kaido let out a scream that he had never had before. Between life and death, his instinctive burst of unprecedented power. 8 trigrams. An angry roar. Conqueror's Haki's mace, carrying the power to destroy everything, slammed out. The world's top power instantly unleashed terrifying power. Boom. Like a thunder bursting, the mace hit the chest of the Burning Mountain, instantly dented, causing the whole person to fly out upside down like an arrow. At the same time, his 5 fingers gripping the hilt of his sword loosened. The lightsaber was not controlled, and the long sword in the form of a photon disappeared in an instant, and the hilt of the sword fell to the ground. However, even so, it left enough scary wounds on Kaido's body. From the shoulder to the abdomen, the ribs were cut in half, blood gurgled out, looming, and gently beating the peritoneum wrapped in internal organs. Almost. Just a little. If it weren't for the instinct of years of fighting and casting the Thunder 8 trigrams and knocking off the Burning Mountain, the lightsaber would probably have injured Kaido's internal organs. At that time, it will not be as simple as serious injury. Hoo. Kaido was on the ground with a mace in one hand and covered the wound in his abdomen with the other. The blood couldn't stop gushing out, ticking to the ground, and soon stained red. Just now, he really felt the taste of death. This weapon. His gaze fell on the delicate alloy hilt on the ground, and Kaido's face showed a hint of throbbing. If he hadn't reacted in time, he would have fallen. However, this also proves that he is worthy of the name of 100 beasts, and the horror of his vitality has not fallen due to this injury. On the contrary, it also stimulates Kaido's bestiality. Subversive weapons, death to lousy, quote, a roar. Kaido opened his mouth and directly spewed out a dragon breath, drowning the distant Burning Mountain over. Then, the marine warriors who were still alive around reflected one after another. Gentlemen, Kaido of the Beasts has been seriously injured by Lord Vice Admiral, don't let him go. Many generals made a move. Some people fought to the death to resist the dragon breath, and used their bodies to burn the mountain for the fire to resist the damage of the dragon breath. Some people went directly to Kaido. The elite soldiers flying in the sky also participated in the attack. You get out of here with Vice Admiral. The deputy of the Burning Mountain shouted at an elite soldier. Yes, the soldier hesitated, gritted his teeth and agreed. He wanted to join the battlefield. Only now this soldier also understands that Lord Vice Admiral, who is seriously injured and dying, will definitely die here if he is not treated in time. Leave, there is a glimmer of life! Exclamation mark. The soldier flew over, did not have time to check the injuries of the Burning Mountain, and after carrying it, he directly flew away from the base. Soon disappeared into the clouds. And the lower branch base. The flames burst into the sky, the explosions continued endlessly, and billowing dust covered the sky. Kaido's anger was vented at this moment. Bang! 3 minutes later, the entire base had been razed to the ground. Kaido did not notice the figure of the Burning Mountain, but noticed the lightsaber handle left on the ground. Recalling that he had almost been killed by this thing just now, Kaido was furious again. Just as he was preparing for a pursuit. Shout! The sharp sound of breaking the sky came at great speed. A huge pterosaur swooped down like a thunderbolt, and when it was about to land, it turned into a tall human form again. Ember, coming. Big brother, who hurt you? After Ember landed, he was startled by Kaido's embarrassed appearance. When has Kaido ever been injured so badly? Could it be that inside the G6 branch, there are experts hidden by Marine? If you know this, you should explore it before acting. It's this thing. Kaido gasped and pointed to the hilt of his sword on the ground. Told Ember everything that had just happened. When he learned of the process, Ember was terrified. If it weren't for Kaido's timely reaction, this blow would have hurt the internal organs inside, and it would have been fatal at that time. But now Kaido is not feeling well, and the blood continues to flow. Ember could feel that Kaido was now weaker than ever. The damage caused by that weapon was 10 times more terrifying than Kazuki Oden's stab 20 years earlier. Burning mountains, that, lousy is going to kill you. Kaido's eyes were about to spew fire. In so many years, no one has allowed themselves to be so hurt. In order to maintain his prestige, Kaido will burn the mountain to pieces. Big brother, seeing that Kaido was about to continue chasing out, Ember shouted anxiously. Now that the enemy or friend is unknown, I don't know how many of these weapons Marine is equipped with, so it is not appropriate to continue the pursuit. Also, big brother, you are seriously injured, or go back to treatment before making a decision. I have to say that Ember's eyes are red. Among the main Kaido's injuries, ordinary people have long fallen, but Kaido relied on strong vitality to destroy the base. Now I want to go after Marine. That would be too dangerous. HMPH, but with that guy's injury, I can't survive it. Kaido recalled the horror of the lightsaber just now. His eyes flashed a throbbing, gritted his teeth and nodded. Care must be taken until the power of such weapons is understood. Ember picks up the lightsaber on the ground and disappears into the sky with Kaido. Half a day later, at the Marine G2 branch base, soldiers on duty spotted 2 Marines flying in the sky. That's a bamboo dragonfly. That's right, it's a bamboo dragonfly. I don't know which branch of the guy, just assigned to use it like this. It's so good, we only have elite soldiers here, I don't know when it will be our turn. Several soldiers looked at Marine flying in the distance, and their words were full of envy. But it soon became clear that something was wrong. Wait, what's this guy carrying? It seems to be a person. As the arrivals approached, the soldiers stationed here saw clearly. Behind the soldier wearing a bamboo dragonfly was a wounded man covered in blood. Doctor, Vice Admiral is dying. Quote, at this time, the elite soldier who controlled the bamboo dragonfly shouted frantically before he landed. The burning mountain he was carrying had long since lost consciousness. This loud roar alarmed the soldiers stationed. The next moment, it caused quite a commotion. The soldiers on duty did not dare to slacken and immediately went to find the doctors in the base. Vice Admiral, the garrison of the G2 branch, also rushed over when he heard the news. Seeing the burning mountain already on the hospital bed, Gumir was heartbroken. Inside Marine, Fire Mountain's constant smile makes him very popular. In addition, the distance between the G2 branch and the G6 branch is not far, and the relationship between the two sides is good. Unexpectedly, the burning mountain became what it is now. How's it going? Gumir asked the doctor. It's not good. Now he can only stop the bleeding and bandage. The bones in his chest cavity have been broken 15, one lung has been eroded, and his right arm has been completely destroyed. The doctor sighed. Such a serious injury is rarely seen even by military doctors. Because ordinary people have been injured so badly, they have already died. It was entirely by relying on tenacious willpower that Burning Mountain was able to persist until now. In fact, needless to say, Gumir also noticed the miserable right arm of Burning Mountain. The muscles mixed with bone debris have long been out of shape. It can't be called an arm, it's called a pool of rotten meat. If it were not for the medical conditions of the G2 branch, I am afraid that the limb would have been amputated by now. I suggest sending Vice Admiral to Marine headquarters immediately, they may have a way to treat it. Otherwise, if you are here, you may die at any time. The doctor looked serious. The injuries in Burning Mountain were too serious to be treated by relying on the medical conditions of the branch. The only way to return is to the naval headquarters, where the best doctors of this sea gather. Or, there is a slight possibility of saving the fire and burning the mountain. But it was only to save lives. The price may be to become a wasted person. Well, I hope that the burning mountain can save a life. Seeing this, Gumir shook his head and sighed. Subsequently, he immediately assigned his manpower to take the burning mountain on a warship and return to the Marine headquarters as quickly as possible. After waiting for the warship and returning home, Gumir found the elite soldiers of the G6 branch. The elite soldiers took a little rest, and their mood had stabilized a lot. What happened to G6? Who hurt the burning mountain? Gumir asked in a deep voice. It's Kaido, it's 4 Emperors Kaido. He attacked the G6 branch. The expression of the elite soldier showed fear and told the story. Even if he was ready, Gumir didn't expect it to be Kaido. For the sake of the bamboo dragonfly, it turned out to be a move on the G6 branch. How is the situation of the G6 branch now? Gumir asked. I don't know how many people still survived, but I'm afraid the bamboo dragonfly has fallen into the hands of Kaido. The elite soldiers were convinced of this. Then, he thought about it and said uncertainly, also, Lord Burning Mountain's weapon that seriously injured Kaido. The words are not finished. Gumir's face changed drastically. As Vice Admiral of the G2 branch, he is naturally well aware of the existence of a lightsaber. The bamboo dragonfly is okay, even if Kaido snatches it, it doesn't really have much effect. After all, when it comes to flying ability, Kaido of the Beasts can do it. But lightsabers are different. That's Marine's whole card. Now, even Kaido has been seriously injured because of this. It can be imagined that the significance of the existence of the lightsaber is definitely not comparable to the bamboo dragonfly. The news is too serious. Okay, you go back to rest first. Thinking of this, Gumir asked this elite soldier to rest well, and then, he immediately contacted the nearby branch. Kaido attacked the G6 branch, Burning Mountain was seriously injured, and the lightsaber and bamboo dragonfly were robbed. Hearing this, New World's marine base became nervous. They also received a certain amount of bamboo dragonflies, and some vice admiral were assigned lightsabers. Then it is also very likely to become Kaido's next target. Suddenly, all of New World's marine were on alert. Marine's unusual behavior also attracted the attention of other forces. The 4 emperors, including Whitebeard, immediately began an intelligence search. However, the reason and process cannot be inquired, because even Marine has not disclosed it. New World, on an island. Big event, big event. Kaido launched an attack on the Marine G6 branch. Beckman ran excitedly from a distance. And their captain, the red-haired, was now lying leisurely under a small tree. There were several wine bottles next to it, all of which were empty. Hiccup. The redhead sat up and wanted to talk, but burped first. This is really a big incident. The Marine G6 branch was destroyed. It is said that most of the dead and injured, the surviving Marine have taken refuge in other branches, and the G6 branch is now completely paralyzed. Beckman's information was sent by his subordinate pirate group. So although they sail everywhere, they can still keep abreast of major events happening in the world. Far from those pirate groups who rely on newspapers to obtain intelligence. Kaido, that guy, why start moving now? The redhead muttered. The balance between the 4 emperors lasted so many years that Kaido was the first to break it. It stands to reason that Kaido, who occupies Wano Kuni, should be the least hurried. It's for the bamboo dragonfly. Kaido must have been worried that Marine had developed this weapon against him, so he took the lead. Beckman was also surprised when he got the news. Especially when I heard that Kaido personally went out, I was even more surprised. However, thinking that this is possible is to ensure that the actions of the bamboo dragonfly will be obtained, everything becomes a matter of course. It seems that from today, we will also start to act. The redhead grinned. Captain, really? Beckman frowned. Until then, the redhead had been saying something before the time. As a former crew member of One Piece, Redhead knows many unknown secrets. So the crew has great trust in the redhead. Well, it's time to make a move. The redhead's smile was a little helpless. Although Joey Bowie has not yet appeared, the world has changed a lot. If you can't catch the tide of the times, you will be left far behind. New World, aboard the Moby Dick. These guys really can't stay idle. Upon hearing the news of Kaido's attack on Marine, Whitebeard frowned. Today's Whitebeard has long wanted to change the world pattern. He wants to witness Ace's growth, and then expand the path ahead of him by becoming One Piece for Ace. Until then, Whitebeard hopes that the world won't change much. I am a person of the old era, and I am not interested in the new era. Daddy, do you want to take this opportunity to deal with Kaido? Marco's eyes sparkled. He remembered his companion from 20 years ago, Kazuki Oden. For 20 years, there has been no suitable opportunity to avenge his former companions. This time Kaido himself angered Marine first, so don't blame them for falling into the hole. It's a good opportunity, but it depends on what Marine does next. Whitebeard was a little moved and nodded silently. Whitebeard had already wanted to attack Wano Kuni several times. However, considering that the battle between the two Four Emperors pirate groups will cause huge casualties and affect the civilians of Wano Kuni, it can only be abandoned. As Kaido's rule in Wano Kuni becomes more entrenched, that opportunity looks increasingly slim. The premise of not harming civilians has always been Whitebeard's credo. Daddy got it. Marco was, of course, the one who knew Whitebeard best. I hope to see the end of Kaido with my own eyes. Ghost Island. Kaido and Ember, who flew back with all their might, just landed on the island. Kaido's figure shook and he almost fell. Boss. Quinn and Jack, who had been waiting for a long time, were shocked and wanted to reach out. At the same time, they also saw huge wounds on Kaido's body. The blood was blurry, and even the bones inside were cut open. Just a little, it hurt the life of the internal organ crisis. Now he was extremely weak, so he hurriedly went up to help. No need. Kaido let out a low roar and repelled the two people. He is Kaido, the king of beasts. Boss, who the hell can hurt you and encounter Marine's ambush? Jack asked tremblingly. If Kaido had been ambushed, it would have proved that Marine had planned it. But it's hard to imagine who could hurt Kaido. The last time Kaido was injured was 20 years ago. Kazuki Oden, who injured Kaido, was also knocked unconscious by Kaido in a blink of an eye. No, it's this thing, I'm afraid it's Marine's subversive weapon. Ember shook his head and took the lightsaber out of his pocket and threw it in front of Quinn. Now Ember has been able to determine that Marine's secret weapon is this stick. Otherwise, it is absolutely impossible to hurt Kaido. Jack and Quinn, staring at the beautifully shaped stick, had difficulty connecting it to the weapon. Anyway, let's treat the captain first. Quinn picked up the stick. Ember threw this thing in front of himself, and that was to put him in charge of conducting the research. Not often. Kaido was taken back to her room and underwent a series of treatments. Eventually, the state stabilized and the wounds were bandaged. There will be no danger to life, but it will be difficult to return to peak state in a short period of time. To the surprise of the three plagues, Kaido did not pass out the whole time. Even if he lost too much blood, he just had a bit of a miserable complexion. Demonstrate the strength and spirit of being an emperor. At the same time, he also took out the bamboo dragonfly he had snatched and put it on the ground. This thing should be the so-called bamboo dragonfly. Kaido lifted the wine gourd next to him and poured it into his throat until he burped and said slowly. What? Looking at the bamboo dragonfly in front of him, the three plagues looked at each other, and their eyes showed doubts. Such a small thing can provide such powerful kinetic energy. Quinn also placed the metal stick on the ground and placed it with the bamboo dragonfly. Is this the weapon that hurt me? And there was a light blade at that time. Kaido had time to examine the metal stick carefully. It's all incredible in his expression. When the burning mountain attacked, the finger was pressed the switch. So after letting go, the lightsaber was turned off. There should be a way to turn it on. Quinn picked up the lightsaber again. After studying for a while, I finally saw a switch at the bottom. After pressing, the light blade popped out. Kaido subconsciously took a step back, and this light blade made his heart palpitate. Ember was even more surprised that Kaido would react with fear of something. This is something that Ember could not have imagined no matter what. Go get something hard, I'll try the power. Quinn turned to Jack and said. Yes. Jack turned and went out. After a while, Jick returned with a large rock, weighing hundreds of pounds. Kaido and the others were speechless, even wondering if there was something wrong with Jack's head. Go get some sea stone. Quinn smashed the stone with one foot. I see. Jack then realized he had messed up. 10 minutes later, Jack dragged a 2-meter-long sea stone with a rope. This is a semi-finished product from the quarry and has not yet been purified. But the seastone content is already very high. Quinn raised his lightsaber high and slashed it down with force. Click, the rubble burst, and seastone broke in two. Kaido and the others gasped, the power of this weapon turned out to be so strong. Kaido, in particular, is even more fortunate in his heart. When Burning Mountain faced him, he was able to almost hurt his life under the serious injury. If the Burning Mountain was not injured and took out this weapon as soon as possible, the consequences would be unimaginable. After all, Kaido is not artificial, and this seemingly bells and whistles can be so powerful. Quinn was even more stunned, carefully examining the lightsaber in his hand. He couldn't understand what kind of technological means this lightsaber used. How the streamlined photons contract and form the shape of a sword. I'm going to start my research right away, and if I can discover the secret of Hikari and Bamboo Dragonfly, it will be the strength of our beast's pirates, and it will leap several levels to become the top of the 4 emperors. Quinn's eyes flashed with ambition. Now on this sea, it is recognized that the first pirate group is the Whitebeard pirate group. Whitebeard himself is known as the strongest man in the world. Then let them break the impression of the world. Well, you hurry up and study. I'm afraid that now the news of our battle with Marine has spread all over the sea. Ember nodded. Ember guessed correctly, during the time he and Kaido returned to Wano Kuni. The news is far faster than they are flying, and many well-intentioned people already know it. Now Kaido's injury will not recover for a while. If someone attacks Wano Kuni in a big way, it will be a very unfavorable situation. If you can make a breakthrough in technology, strengthen the strength of Beast's pirates. That would relieve the pressure they faced next. Well, I'm definitely fully committed. Quinn couldn't wait. And at this time, a person broke into the room. It's Yamato. Sorry, I didn't stop her. The person who was originally standing at the door in charge of guarding was Jack, but now he looked annoyed. Kaido, you, quote, Yamato was shocked to see the injured Kaido. Especially Kaido is so tightly bandaged, it is a serious injury at first glance. Yamato came here because she happened to witness Kaido and Ember's return. At that time, Kaido stumbled, which made Yamato very curious. Now it's even more certain that someone injured Kaido. This is something that Yamato's idol, Kazuki Oden, could not do. Young master, it's Marine, with weird technology. Quinn showed Yamato the lightsaber in his hand. He also thought Yamato was shocked because he saw Kaido injured. After all, it is a father and son who are connected by blood, and they will still worry about Kaido at critical moments. Weird scientific products. Is this it? Yamato stared curiously at the lightsaber in Quinn's hand. Yamato could also feel bursts of energy fluctuations from the sword. That's right, there's a person named Roy in Marine who specializes in developing weapons against our Wano Kuni. Jack also cried. In his heart, Jack didn't know how many times he had cursed Roy. I can't wait to smash Roy's corpse into 10,000 pieces. Roy. Yamato heard the name Roy smile on his face, and a strange feeling filled his heart. I think this must be a man who is not lost to Kazuki Oden. After all, manufactured weapons can harm Kaido. Seeing Yamato was actually laughing. Three Plagues understood that Yamato was still the same, and he must be rejoicing that Kaido was injured. Are you still the eldest son? Actually gloating here. Jack was immediately furious. He was anxious and angry here, but Yamato was smiling. HMPH. Even if Marine doesn't make a move, I'll beat Kaido one day sooner or later. Yamato didn't care at all, but instead issued another declaration to defeat Kaido. Kaido looked at Yamato helplessly. No matter how many times he was beaten, his son never changed. I actually adore that guy Kazuki Oden. If he hadn't been seriously injured now, he would definitely have to teach Yamato a lesson again. No matter what you think, but you must not leak the news of the eldest brother's injury, otherwise it will not only be you who are unlucky, but also the people of Wano Kuni. I will also select 100 and bury Wonkwan with you. Ember said coldly. It would have been enough to have a bomb bracelet to threaten Yamato. But now the news of Kaido's injury is very important. Ember had to make sure that Yamato wouldn't have leaked the news at all. I won't leak news, Yamato said slowly. Deep down, he was deeply interested in the man who could invent and injure Kaido's weapon. Marineford, the Scientific Research Department. The green light, which contains the breath of life, floods the laboratory like the sea. Ha ha ha. With Roy's uplifting laughter, the green light gradually faded. It turned into a bean and was held by Roy in his hand. Sendo made complete. It's just a sample, but the effect is the same. The real fairy beans, on the other hand, are grown like plants, not as catalysts in Roy's hands. However, after the sample is developed, the subsequent cultivation of fairy beans is much easier. Only a huge amount of capital investment is required to simulate the cultivation process of fairy beans. According to Kivis's calculations, the growing environment of fairy beans is very harsh. Sunlight is needed 24 hours a day, and holy water is used as a nutrient. Holy water can be imitated, and money can do it. Roy felt that the more difficult place was the environment. It is necessary to create an environment suitable for the growth of fairy beans. With the samples in hand, Roy is confident that these problems can be solved. Anyway, there are 5 elders and Sengoku, who will definitely take the initiative to help Roy solve these problems after witnessing the magic of Sendo. Too lazy to change his clothes, Roy directly put the fairy beans in the pocket of the big white coat, and couldn't wait to leave the factory. Naval Headquarters Ideographic Period. Marine comes and goes, revealing a feeling of fullness and heaviness. Did something happen? Roy muttered. I arrived at Sengoku's office and found that Sengoku was not there. Ask the soldier next to him. He also said that he did not know where Sengoku went. Roy came to the conference room again, still empty. It was strange to Roy that if something big happened, it would be in the conference room. He remembered the Crane staff officer again, who could also help himself solve the problem. Sengoku once said that he could go to Suru when he was away, and Suru's words were also useful. But there was no one in Suru's office either. In Marine headquarters, the 2 people who could help Roy solve the problem were not there, which made Roy very strange. You can't go directly to the Holy Land, just find 5 elders. In desperation, Roy prepares to return first, turning back and letting his messenger come here to wait for Sengoku. Once Sengoku comes back, come back as soon as possible. After all, Roy doesn't want to delay the progress, which is related to his strength. Just as Roy walked out of the building, a group of soldiers hurried by. What the hell happened? Why are you so anxious? Roy caught one of the inquiries. Stopped by a man in a large white coat, the soldier looked angry. What are you doing? Delay things, you want military law to engage. It turned out to be Colonel Roy. What is the matter with you? Quote. But halfway through the sentence, the soldier recognized Roy and became very respectful. Why are you in such a hurry? Do you know where Marshal Sengoku went? Roy was just thinking of giving it a try. After all, even the soldiers at the door of Sengoku's office didn't know where Sengoku had gone. Unexpectedly, the soldiers who stopped him casually knew. There were a lot of people gathered on the pier. Marshal Sengoku probably went over there. We are also on guard to prevent accidents. The soldier immediately replied. The soldier only knows a general situation, and is still very uncertain. After Roy let the soldier go, he also hesitated for a moment. Finally decided to also head towards the Crescent Bay Pier. He wanted to see what happened. Crescent Bay Pier, which at this time has been blocked by water. The marine present was all sad and gritting their teeth. At the front are Sengoku and other marine executives. Even Kizaru and Akainu were here, except for Aokiji outside. They, like the rest of Marine, had scowl on their faces. Akainu, in particular, almost spewed fire in his eyes. What everyone is waiting for now is the warship carrying the burning mountain. The news of the attack on the G6 branch was also the first time that Marine headquarters knew about it. Shock, anger, and concern for the burning mountain are the portrayal of the hearts of everyone. Kaido, that scoundrel, we're going to make him pay. Dare to make a move against the G6 branch, he will usually be angry with Marine. Marshal, let's attack Wanokuni. Vice Admiral was full of discussion and desperate to immediately lead the fleet to Wanokuni. Marine went all out to avenge Marine in the G6 branch. Marine's dignity cannot be allowed to be trampled on by Kaido. Hearing the voices of Vice Admiral, Sengoku's face sank like water. Sengoku also wants revenge and shows the power of Marine. But without personally understanding the situation, he knew he had to be calm. After all, Even Marine Admiral Akainu, who was known as the most bloody next to him, was waiting for the warship carrying the burning mountain to return. A warship gradually appeared on the sea in the distance, making the personnel who were already chattering suddenly agitated. They all knew very well that it was the warship that escorted the burning mountain back. When the warship passed through the G1 branch, in order to prevent any more accidents on the way, Vice Admiral boarded the warship and personally escorted Burning Mountain back to Marine headquarters. As the ship approached, there was gradually no sound on the dock. Now is not the time to be noisy. As soon as the warship landed, the military doctors, who had long been ready, came on board one after another to carry out rescue work. They learned that Burning Mountain was dead of injuries and could no longer move. Marshal and other high-ranking officers also followed closely to board the ship, and the soldiers in the distance did not dare to come out. You can only carry out orders and be responsible for your own vigilance work. During the treatment of military doctors, the squirrel came with the elite soldiers of the G6 branch. Tell all about the encounter process in the base. Kaido's surprise attack from the sky caused the branch soldiers to resist. Burning Mountain was even more desperate to strike, and at the cost of serious injuries, Kaido was also injured. When the elite soldiers said this, their eyes were a little moist. For these soldiers, the G6 branch is like their home. Now that the home is destroyed, how can you not be heartbroken? Sengoku and the others looked at each other, and they all saw anger and shock in their eyes. Angry, Kaido chose to do something to Marine. Shockingly, the lightsaber can hurt Kaido and make the other party suffer. But the loss of a Vice Admiral level combat power made everyone feel very uncomfortable. Not long after, the medics carried the badly wounded fire out of the mountain and put it on the deck. Sengoku and the others immediately stepped forward to check, and their hearts were very sad. The right arm was shattered and fluffy, and the arm bone was completely shattered. The chest cavity has collapsed for more than half, and the internal organs have been injured. He was covered in bandages, and there was not a single intact place. The most terrifying thing is the face of the burning mountain, pale without the slightest bit of blood. It can be seen that even if the burning mountain can survive this time, I am afraid that it will not be able to return to its full glory. Many people think of Marine's predecessor, Admiral Black Arm Zephyr. The right arm was also hit hard, and even if it was transformed, it was not as strong as it used to be. Not to mention that the current situation of Burning Mountain is more serious than Zephyr. How is the situation in the Burning Mountain? Sengoku asked the medics. We can't do anything about it, and carrying him out is also the will of Vice Admiral himself. One of the medics sighed. The rest of the military doctors also shook their heads one after another. The injuries of the Burning Mountain were so severe that he could die at any moment. Being able to stick back to Marine headquarters was even more of an opportunity. At this moment, Burning Mountain opened his eyes with difficulty. Marshal, who Burning Mountain made a hoarse voice, and there was no slightest brilliance in his eyes. The person who used to laugh the most in Marine has now become like this. Everyone couldn't help but itch their noses, and some people had secretly wiped their tears. Stupid, take a break at this time. Sengoku stepped forward and grabbed the intact hand of Burning Mountain. Although the words are accusing, the tone is very gentle. I have done my best not to bring justice to shame. My regret before I died was that I was just too weak to protect my soldiers, said Fire Mountain, tears remaining in the corners of his eyes. At the last moment before dying, Burning Mountain's heart was filled with guilt for the soldiers. If he is stronger, how can he let the pirates wreak havoc in his base? Don't say it. You are the pride of Marine and you will survive. Sengoku endured his grief. Even though everyone present was used to seeing life and death parting, every time they saw Marine die in front of them, that grief has not diminished at all. Marshal, I'm sorry. I exposed the existence of the lightsaber. If I don't do this, I can't hurt Kaido, then our G6 base will be complete. Burning Mountain didn't intend to use a lightsaber at first, but he couldn't watch Kaido slaughter his soldiers. But before the words were finished, the eyes of the Burning Mountain gradually lost their brilliance. Weakly closed his eyes, breathless like a gossamer. He will die at any time, and he has fallen into the moment of death. Just to say these words, it is just a return to the light. The Hawks in Marine were furious when they saw this scene, and they couldn't wait for a decisive battle with Kaido. Kaido, I want your entire pirate group to be buried. Akainu clenched his fists even more and let out a low roar. The moderates are slightly better, but they can't be calm. Normally, they may have been more moderate, but now they all believe that Marine cannot sit still. While Kaido is injured, you can kill him. Even Momoshiki said with a shake of his fist. Marine executives, excited, they all volunteered to lead warships to Wano Kuni to avenge the burning mountain. As the Marshal of Sengoku, he understands that he cannot lose his mind. They just knew that Kaido was injured, but to what extent, they didn't know. Especially after Kaido was slashed by the lightsaber, he was still able to continue fighting, which made it difficult for Sengoku to judge. It wasn't just the generals who were clamoring to attack Wano Kuni. Even the soldiers in the distance did not know why, and when they saw the general's high fighting spirit, they were roaring together. Sengoku is powerless because he also wants to attack Wano Kuni. Avenge the burning mountain. Let me go. Roy squeezed through the crowd and entered the warship. This made the soldiers very angry, and they all glared at Roy angrily. If he hadn't seen Roy wearing a big white coat from the scientific research department, he would have already done it. Roy wasted his energy for a long time, and finally snorted near the dock. But he was stopped by a pair of elite Marines. Marshal's order, no one below Vice Admiral can enter. The soldier said coldly. I'm different, the Marshal said that no matter when I come, he will see me first. Roy struggled to explain. And the elite soldiers in front of him had only one word. Are you Vice Admiral? No, Roy was helpless. Then it won't work. The elite soldiers blocked in front of the ladder and did not mean to get out of the way. I have something urgent, you let me go up. Roy was anxious. Are you Vice Admiral? The elite soldier asked again. Roy was a little devastated. The commotion at the mouth of the ladder also attracted the attention of the people on the warship. Akainu looked over to this side, and his already angry expression became even more irritable. What kind of person are you, ignoring the orders of the chief? Throw him out of the confinement room for me to reflect. Akainu scolded. After hearing the order, several elite soldiers rolled up their sleeves and were about to start. Seeing that Akainu was angry again, Sengoku also looked down. Only then did I notice that it was the person Roy who came. Don't stop him, bring him up. Sengoku stopped it in time. After Roy boarded the warship, Sengoku looked apologetic. Sorry Roy, these soldiers are following Akainu, and I don't know who you are. Sengoku was surprised to speak so politely. After hearing Roy's name, Akainu reacted. The inconspicuous young man in front of him is the developer of the bamboo dragonfly and the lightsaber. After Akainu returns to Marine headquarters, Sengoku keeps chanting about Roy except for the burning of the mountain. Akainu's ears were almost calloused. But Akainu didn't expect Roy to be so young. Sorry, Colonel Roy, it was my rudeness just now. Akainu said with a slight bow. In front of everyone, he apologized to Roy. Some people who were not familiar with Akainu were secretly surprised. The people at the dock in the distance saw this, although they could not hear anything. But they all vaguely guessed and felt extremely shocked, and it was hard to believe that Admiral would reveal it to Roy. But Roy wasn't surprised. Don't look at Akainu's usual fierceness, but when facing pirates, Akainu will turn into a cold-blooded executioner. Akainu shows rare kindness to Marine soldiers. All because of the absolute justice that Akainu believes in. Marine stands for justice, so even if a soldier angers Akainu, Akainu will not take it to heart. In the plot, Vic is almost killed by Akainu in Summit War. But later, after Vic made a contribution, he was promoted according to the normal process. I was reckless and didn't explain it clearly. Roy also replied politely. The humble gesture is very popular with Akainu. In Akainu's heart, it is not surprising that a powerful scientist like Roy has a strange personality. It's normal, but it's a little unexpected. Seeing that there was no contradiction between the two people, Sengoku was also relieved. Roy, is there something wrong with being in such a hurry? Follow before Sengoku will definitely be excited. But the current situation really makes Sengoku uninterested. The Vice Admiral around was when I met Roy. It's also a high mood, and now it's a feeling with Sengoku. Burning Mountain doesn't know if it will swallow in the next second, sadness is in everyone's heart. Roy didn't notice the Burning Mountain figure on the deck, blocked by the generals, and he unhurriedly reported his research. Marshal, it's what I mentioned to you before, the matter of fairy beans. While speaking, Roy repeated the magical effect of fairy beans again. Hearing the effect of Sendo, everyone present was dumbfounded except Sengoku. Heal your injuries quickly, recover your strength and energy instantly, and adjust your body to your best. Sounds incredible. Is there really such a miracle medicine in the world? It is similar to the effect of elixirs and the like in some island legends. More like some scammers, the usual means, specifically to deceive those cornered patients. But the person in front of you is Roy. He is a magical scientist who made bamboo dragonflies and lightsabers. With the first two successful inventions, no one would question that Roy was a liar. Roy, you came to me, is it that Xiando has been successfully developed? Sengoku suddenly thought of something and couldn't wait to ask. It has not been a month since the development of the lightsaber. It is unimaginable that new scientific research results will emerge again. But now that the situation is critical, Sengoku can only hope that Roy has the finished product. When Sengoku said this, everyone who was originally sad also raised their heads one after another, and their eyes showed fanaticism. They were all waiting for Roy's answer, and they didn't even dare to come out. Even Akainu and Kizaru stared at Roy closely. It has already been successfully developed, so I came to the marshal. Roy smiled and nodded. Seeing Sengoku like this, Roy estimates that Sengoku is also looking forward to the successful development of Sendo. Then the problem of their own funds should be settled. Great, the Burning Mountain is saved. Quote, hurry up and take it out and let Burning Mountain try it, he can't do it anymore. Sendo can definitely do miracles, this is a product developed by Colonel Roy. On the deck, the crowd erupted in cheers. The sad atmosphere just now was swept away, and even the soldiers in the distance were dumbfounded. What happened? Why the Marine executives were so excited, they were scratching their heads for a while. Take it out, Roy. Burning Mountain desperately needs this. Sengoku was also pleasantly surprised, urging Roy to take it out quickly. Roy now understood that everyone had gathered here because the Burning Mountain was seriously injured. No wonder there are several military doctors on the deck, all of whom should be here to treat. But the injuries are too serious to be something that a military doctor can do. Under everyone's expectant gaze, Roy took out a bean from his pocket. Right between Roy's two fingers. Seeing this bean-sized thing, everyone was stunned at once. They stared at each other wide-eyed and looked at each other. This is the fairy bean that can instantly heal all injuries and have the effect of bringing the dead back to life. It may seem too fake. Such a small thing can play such a big role. However, seeing Roy's confident face, everyone did not doubt Roy. After all, the success stories of previous inventions are here. Whether it is a lightsaber or a bamboo dragonfly, the appearance is very strange. That fairy bean looks like this, but it can be said. The worldview of the crowd has been greatly challenged. Now I have fallen into self-doubt, whether my own insight is too shallow. I know too little about the world, and high-tech products are in front of me, and I don't know it. That's right, it must be. Roy, this is Sendo. Did you take it wrong? Akainu hadn't experienced the shock before, all he saw was the finished product. So it is inevitable to feel curious, this little thing is a fairy bean. When everyone heard this, they couldn't help but nod their heads. Roy also has the possibility of taking the wrong thing, perhaps without noticing it himself. People who feel that their worldview is misplaced are pulled back a little. That's right, this thing can heal the Burning Mountain. Roy nodded affirmatively. The deck was plunged into an eerie atmosphere. Roy admitted, this is really Sendo. Didn't take it wrong. Everyone was silent in their hearts, and they really couldn't understand the world. Major Roy, this little bean has healing powers. I think it's just a legume, not a medicine. Quote, I'm not doubting your R&D capabilities, but technology and biotechnology are different. Medical science, in particular, is another discipline. Among the doctors, the oldest one spoke. The tone is neither humble nor arrogant, and he does not appear arrogant because of his age. But anyone can hear that this is questioning whether the beans in Roy's hands have a therapeutic effect. When the others heard this, they all nodded secretly. When it comes to weapons development, they absolutely trust Roy. Even the next time Roy takes out a blank piece of paper and says that this white paper is called two-way foil and has the ability to destroy the world, they are all convinced. However, now that the burning mountain is dying, the best doctors of the Marine headquarters have gathered here. Even these professionals can't do anything, and Roy doesn't know what medicine can do. Maybe he also saw that the life of the burning mountain was in danger, so Roy was a little anxious. Everyone can understand Roy's feelings, and they are the same now. The so-called rush to the hospital is like this. Roy, I trust you, but there are many things that don't have to be forced. Sengoku came up to Roy and patted him on the shoulder. This is a sign of encouragement to Roy. I really don't know how to heal. Roy nodded, acknowledging it. Everyone cast comforting eyes, presumably Roy was too anxious. No one will blame him. But I know technology, and since my product has been developed, let's give it a try. Roy said with a change of tone. Then give it a try. Sengoku sighed. Everyone also watched in silence, although they were expecting a miracle to happen. But I also know that this is impossible, and the mood is very complicated. The crowd took the initiative to get out of the way, and Roy came to the burning mountain. Seeing the injuries of the burning mountain, Roy also felt heartache. You can imagine what kind of battle Burning Mountain went through to be so badly injured. Everything is for justice, for the preservation of peace on the sea. The Burning Mountain was confused, and his heartbeat was even weaker. Roy didn't say a word, and directly asked Fire Burning Mountain to take the fairy beans. As soon as the immortal bean entered the mouth of the Burning Mountain, a green light erupted. As bright as a small sun. This light is not as dazzling as the eyes, but very warm and soft. It makes people feel a breath of life. Although the line of sight is obstructed, it is under the perception of observation hockey. Everyone noticed that the life breath of the Burning Mountain was constantly increasing, getting stronger and stronger, even stronger than before they were not injured. Until the green light disappeared, everyone found that the Burning Mountain on the stretcher had opened their eyes. With a confused expression, he still hasn't figured out what happened. Burning Mountain, your wound. The squirrel, who had always been guarding the side, pointed to the chest of the Burning Mountain in surprise. Everyone looked over, and they all closed their mouths in shock. The sternum that had originally collapsed in the Burning Mountain had actually returned to its original state at this time. Not only here, but also arms. How is this possible? The old doctor looked even more incredulous. The soft and broken arm was now fully restored, and the wrapped gauze was still stretched out. The baby-like fair skin and muscles inside were revealed. Burning Mountain's face also became rosy, more radiant than a normal person. Looking at this picture, it looks like a fatally wounded person. Among the people present, there was no better look than the Burning Mountain. The shocked many high-level members of Marine all had a hellish expression. The atmosphere was quiet and deadly. The effect of fairy beans is also too exaggerated, it can really bring the dead back to life. Where is this medicine? It is more acceptable to say that it is magic. Even if the injuries of the Burning Mountain recovered slowly, everyone was not as shocked as they are now. Burning the Mountain, how are you feeling? Is there anything strange about the body? The squirrel couldn't help but ask. This question is very strange. What is called, there are strange things about the body. It stands to reason that in the face of a person who has recovered from a major injury, you should ask if there is still pain, discomfort and so on. But the squirrel question is there anything strange? None of the people present felt that there was something wrong with this problem. Strange place. I seem to have said something just now, and then I fainted, and when I was confused, I felt like I saw my past, and then I felt that my body had endless strength. Burning Mountain stood up around his head. After moving a bit, it felt like everything was normal. When the squirrel and others heard this, don't be shocked. See your past. Isn't this the legendary Marquis? Before dying, people look back on their lives. But looking at the current appearance of the Burning Mountain, it has nothing to do with dying. Instead, it's a lively life. The soldiers in the distance also looked over one after another and found that the Burning Mountain had stood up. One by one, they were very puzzled. Wasn't it rumored that the fire burned the mountain and died of a hammer just now? How does it look alive, not at all injured? Did I make a mistake? The soldiers below do not understand the specifics, all by guessing. It's Colonel Roy. His latest scientific research results saved you, otherwise you would have died. Squirrel tears flowed. The heart that has been tense is relaxed, and of course it is impossible to control the emotions. Not only the squirrels, but also many others cried. Don't be sad everyone, didn't I come back to life? Burning Mountain laughed like a nobody. Seeing the familiar smile of Burning Mountain, everyone was sure that Burning Mountain was really the same as before. This is the person they know. Colonel Roy, thank you. You saved me from burning the mountain. Burning Mountain laughed and thanked Roy. That's all I should do. Roy doesn't feel like he's the lifesaver of the Burning Mountain. It can only be said that the luck of the fire Burning Mountain is good, and it has caught up with the successful development of fairy beans. It is the fire that burns the mountain's life should not be extinguished, otherwise the immortal bean is not completed, and the immortal will not be able to save him when he comes. Burning Mountain, how are you feeling now? Can your arms move normally? The internal organs don't hurt, just now your sternum collapsed. Let me see if he's back to normal. Everyone stepped forward one after another, and began to pinch and beat around the Burning Mountain, thinking it was an illusion. It hurts. I'm really healthy. Burning Mountain exclaimed in pain. Everyone believes that it is not a dream, everything is really in front of us. It's a miracle. The group of doctors had long been dumbfounded. The recovery of Burning Mountain exceeded their medical understanding. How a person who has suffered so many injuries returns to normal in the blink of an eye? Could it be that Roy's level of technology has surpassed this era too much? They are the ignorant people. Not to mention the doctors, even Sengoku and Akainu and Aokiji took a while to wake up. Empty the surrounding area of idle people within 1,000 meters, etc. Let all the soldiers keep what just happened a secret. Sengoku reacted and immediately shouted. Akainu and Kizaru jumped to the ground for the first time. He personally told this order to the surrounding soldiers and ordered them to keep their mouths shut. It is forbidden to leak what you see today. The soldiers saw the two admiral with such solemn expressions for the first time, realized that the matter was important, and immediately became good at it. Sengoku's serious expression also made many generals react. Sendo is still in the experimental stage, another secret weapon of Marine, and must not be exposed now. The two people, the squirrel and the T-dolphin, even moved to press the fire mountain. Now we can't continue to let the fire burn the mountain and be exposed to everyone's eyes. It's just a pity that it's still one step late. Vigor, who was mixed in the crowd, had already purposed everything and had already written it down in his heart. There was also a seagull passing over the Marine headquarters and filmed the whole process. Meeting room at Marine headquarters. In addition to Sengoku and other top officials, there are only a few elite vice admiral, and other vice admiral have also been given gag orders. Because the main topic of today's meeting is the fairy bean developed by Roy. Sengoku now intends to increase the level of secrecy in all scientific research involving Roy. General Vice Admiral, it's hard to know the news. This can already be seen from the seating in the conference room today. Sitting next to Sengoku is no longer Admiral. It's Roy as a colonel. Followed are the two admirals Akainu and Kizaru, as well as Staff Officer Suru and Garp Momoshiki, and so on. Such a high salary has exceeded the level that a colonel should have. But there was no objection from all, and they even took it for granted. With Roy's level of technology, his ability to play is far stronger than theirs. Especially today, Roy is everyone's hero. Even now, the shock in everyone's hearts has not subsided. Roy, what the hell is Sendo? Sengoku was eager to figure it out. How that magical little bean was made. In particular, the effect of fairy beans seems to be stronger than Roy said. Roy was actually surprised. He thought he was making ordinary fairy beans. You can see the exaggerated green light when fire burning mountain eats the fairy beans. He already understood that this was not the original immortal bean. So after carefully reading the system introduction, Roy realized that what he had developed turned out to be an upgraded version of Shondo. No wonder the healing effect was so exaggerated, even the arm that had been shattered returned to normal. That was far beyond the average injury, and it was not something that Shiondo could have treated. Now Sengoku asks, and Roy talks about the efficacy of the upgraded Senbean. Simply put, as long as a person has not died for a breath, fairy beans can be repaired all over the body, even if the limbs are cut off, they can grow out, the brain and heart damage can be rescued in time, and even incurable diseases can be treated. When Roy said the effect of the upgraded version of fairy beans, he also felt that this was very exaggerated. This is not the medicine I said before, more like an elixir. But if you think about it, the name of the fairy bean carries a fairy character. Everyone in the conference room was shocked beyond belief. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would never have thought that there was such a magical thing in the world. It is said that somewhere on the Grand Line, there is a panacea that cures all diseases. However, the legendary panacea is not as effective as the fairy bean. Everyone's hearts became frenzied, and even the look in Roy's eyes changed. Treat all diseases, even so that amputated limbs can grow back. As long as there is still a breath, you can be resurrected in place. This can already be called a miracle. For the generals present, this little bean is more attractive than a lightsaber and a bamboo dragonfly. After all, the people who can become high-ranking generals, each of them has experienced countless battles, and there are not a few battles of life and death. Who can live to this day, who does not have some scars, illnesses and the like? If it is not for physical limitations, then most vice admiral have the possibility of further breakthrough. The appearance of fairy beans may change the pattern of Grand Line. Akainu said slowly, with a hint of excitement in his eyes. Today's Grand Line is 4 emperors plus Marine and Shichibukai. The formation is a fragile but unshakable balance. Marine did not dare to attack the 4 emperors, not afraid of the power of the 4 emperors. Rather, if they lose money when attacking a certain 4 emperors, everyone else will be ready to move. This could lead to a further deterioration of the situation. And the 4 emperors are the same, they don't want to spend their strength first, everyone is afraid of each other. That's right, after having immortal beans, we don't worry about the loss of high-level combat power. Kizaru also nodded, with a hint of heartbeat. Once Marine's high-level combat power is lost, it will not only hit Marine's combat effectiveness. Along with this, there was a further loss of Marine deterrence and prestige. Pirates will no longer be afraid of Vice Admiral and Admiral, and will act more brazenly. Now that you have Sendo, you can face your enemies desperately. Adopt a non-defensive strategy, exchange injuries for injuries, and exchange limits for 1. Anyway, after swallowing the fairy beans, you can be resurrected in place full of blood. Even if the opponent only breaks an arm or leg, his combat effectiveness will be greatly damaged. With Sendo, I can fight hard in every battle. Yes, if you have a breath, you won't die, who will be afraid? With all hockey attached to weapons, I don't believe I can't hurt Kaido. Anyway, Kaido will also immune to death me. Attack Wano-kuni, the end of the pirates is coming. The more everyone spoke, the more excited they became, and they all asked Ying to attack Kaido. The end of the 4 emperors is here. Compared to everyone's excitement, Sengoku still retains sanity. He even put on a sad face, because Sengoku knew it. According to Sengoku's previous knowledge of Roy products, Sendo has such a heaven-defying effect. Along with this, there must be high research and development costs. It may even be impossible to mass produce, and therefore it will not be possible to equip the army on a large scale. That Roy, if he wants to mass produce fairy beans, how much R&D money does it take? Sengoku asked Roy next to him cautiously. Hearing these words, everyone who was still hot just now calmed down. They all looked at Roy, and their eyes were full of expectation and apprehension. More of a bitter smile. The effect of fairy beans is too heaven-defying, and it is an item that no one dares to think of. The price will definitely be prohibitive, especially since the quantity will definitely be scarce. The generals and Sengoku have the same idea, and they dare not expect that Sendo can be mass-produced. Facing everyone's burning gaze, Roy did not answer positively about the value of fairy beans. Instead, he began to explain to everyone that fairy beans are not synthetic drugs. Xian bean is actually a man-made plant, because it does not grow naturally, it needs careful care to grow, and it is more demanding for the cultivation environment. In addition to the 24 hours of uninterrupted sun exposure, it also requires extremely expensive nutrient solution cultivation. A fairy bean can ripen and bear fruit 3 times, and after 3 times it will wither. The first ripening produces 5 fairy beans, the second is 10, and the third is 20. After each ripening, the time to result doubles. The time of maturity needs to be determined by the environment and nutrition, and it can mature once in half a month at the earliest. The slow ones are more than a year, or even 10 years and other uncertain times. Everyone in the conference room listened quietly to Roy's explanation. Gradually, breathing began to speed up and become agitated. Roy's words mean that Sendo can be mass-produced. How much money do you need? Sengoku is more concerned about funding. Because all this is based on funds, if the research and development of fairy beans is an astronomical amount that cannot be afforded, that means nothing makes sense. If a fairy bean plant is to ripen 3 times, it needs about 10 billion. Roy held out a finger. As soon as this number came out, everyone gasped. They were all blown away. This finger represents 10 billion. Before this, everyone dared not think of numbers. But on second thought, 10 billion can bring 35 heaven-defying effect fairy beans. The value of each fairy bean is less than 300 million Baileys. I also think it's great value for money, cheaper than many devil fruits. The effect was far from what the average devil fruit could compare, and everyone suddenly began to get excited. Chapter 41. In exchange for 300 million Baileys, a chance to cure your own disease or come back to life. Anyone will not hesitate. After all, 300 million Bailey is not out of reach for everyone. In particular, the role of fairy beans can directly change the world pattern. When I think of this, everyone is not calm. They all looked at Sengoku, waiting for Sengoku to make a statement. Feeling everyone's hot gaze, Sengoku directly gritted his teeth. From now on, Shondo is a priority project. If you can't find funding, then move Marine's funds to mass-produce fairy beans. Even if let's suspend the manufacture of warships and weapons. Quote. This isn't just Sengoku's excited rhetoric. But Sengoku thought carefully, and Sendo has this value. With Sengoku's assurance, everyone present breathed a sigh of relief. I'll do my best to make this happen. Akainu smiled too. Roy was certainly the happiest one. Marshal Marine spoke in public. There were certainly no problems with funding. But now there is another problem in front of Roy, and that is environmental nurturing. Marineford is located in an area that is not suitable for the growth of fairy beans. I wanted to find a place where I could get sunshine all year round, and the conditions in Marineford weren't right. Roy made the request directly. After hearing Roy's words, Sengoku breathed a sigh of relief. It's just a change of place, it's not a difficult task. Eni's lobby, and almost all of them named a location. The special geography, no matter how the earth turns, Eni's lobby always faces the side of the sun. There is no night, and it is in the middle of day all year round, so it is also called the island that never sleeps. If it is Eni's lobby, it can meet the growing conditions of fairy beans. Well, Eni's lobby is a good fit, I'll figure it out after the meeting. Sengoku nodded. Eni's lobby is not part of Marine, but is the judicial arm of the world government. Add to the special significance of Eni's lobby, which is not simply an organization of the world government. Sengoku also needs to negotiate with 5 elders to secure a spot for Roy at Eni's lobby. I'll go too, it will make the old men pay more attention. Kizaru, rarely, offered to add to his workload. Akainu looked at Kizaru in amazement, and it was the first time Akainu had seen this scene in so many years. I'll go with me and let 5 elders understand the value of fairy beans. Akainu followed. The Marshal plus 2 admirals used to be only extremely important events at the same time. Those present took it for granted that Shiondo was already a top priority. One more thing, to strengthen Roy's security during this time, he is too important now. Sengoku said in a deep voice. Now Roy's security level is too low, and only a group of ordinary soldiers follow orders. That's why Roy is in Marineford, which is safe in itself. But Roy is now heading to Eni's lobby, and the entire arsenal will definitely have to be relocated. Eni's lobby has never been captured, but it has something to do with the geographical location of Eni's lobby. In terms of security forces, Eni's lobby is not very strong. That's right, and you can't Zhongyang, the fewer the number, the better. Suru added. After all, Roy is now Marine's top secret, and his existence is not yet known to the world. Let me be in charge of protecting Roy. Akainu took the initiative. Marine Admiral, take care of security. No, Admiral has its own responsibilities, and both the Holy Land and the Marine headquarters need Admiral to sit. Sengoku was a little crying and denied. In any case, it would be an exaggeration to let Admiral protect Roy. It's not that Roy doesn't have that value. And Admiral itself is a very eye-catching existence. Once it appears, it will attract a lot of attention. There is any movement about Admiral, which is in demand in the intelligence market. Once someone discovers that Admiral is following someone all the time, that person's information can be picked up in a blink of an eye. Then there are not many people to choose. Suru looked at Momoshiki and said, "Strong enough, not bad position, with the ability to protect Roy." In Suru's opinion, among those present, Momoshiki is the best candidate to gather all three conditions. After Suru's reminder, everyone also looked at Momoshiki. "Okay, that's it, Momoshiki, you're in charge of Roy's safety." Sengoku clapped directly. "If it's Momoshiki, I also agree with her abilities." Akainu nodded in agreement. Kizaru leaned back in his chair and made a relaxed appearance. "Wait, is that all you decided?" Momoshiki was dumbfounded. It was as if all of a sudden, he was assigned a new task. "What's wrong? Don't you want to?" Sengoku looked strange. Remembering the last time Suru sent Momoshiki to receive the bamboo dragonfly, Momoshiki became very interested in Roy's arsenal. He also said that if there is such a task next time, he must arrange himself. Now let Momoshiki be in charge of Roy's security, wouldn't it satisfy Momoshiki's curiosity? Not really, it's just a little sudden. Momoshiki was a little crying. She was not ready for this, but she did not resist at all, but she was looking forward to it in her heart. As Marine, it's about facing any contingencies, and if you can replace Admiral in the future, you'll understand. It was at this time that Akainu passed on his experience. Yes, I understand. Mission accomplished. Momoshiki understood the importance of this task and immediately made a commitment. In addition to keeping Roy safe, you have to meet any of his requests. Take care of him a lot. Sengoku added. Sengoku meant that he wanted Momoshiki to be Roy's helper. Having Momoshiki by his side makes it easy for Roy to act. I just don't know if Roy wants to. That's what worries Momoshiki. Sengoku and the others reacted, as if they hadn't asked Roy for his opinion. I obey the Marshal's arrangement, and please take more care in the future. Without waiting for Sengoku to ask, Roy volunteered to Momoshiki. Asking Momoshiki to help him was something Roy hadn't expected. This is Admiral's backup, and its strength can be said to be comparable to Admiral. I'm the one who needs to give more advice. Momoshiki smiled slightly. Okay, the meeting will be disbanded here. I believe I don't repeat it, everyone understands that today's affairs cannot be leaked. Sengoku reminded again. Understood, everyone said. In the future, everything related to Roy will be treated as top secret. Sengoku, Akainu, Kizaru, and Suru immediately went to the Holy Land. They had to report to 5 elders as soon as possible, and it was bound to satisfy Roy's request. Because they are all well aware of the value of fairy beans, they can be called miracles of life. And the reason why Sengoku and others are so proactive is not just Sendo. It's more about making the Holy Land aware of Roy's value to Marine. Roy must be satisfied with all efforts to maximize this value and enhance Marine's power. In a very short period of time, 3 cross-era technologies have been developed. Enough to prove that Roy is a genius who is not losing to Vegapunk. Even in Sengoku's mind, he has decided that Roy's future potential will definitely surpass Vegapunk. After all, Roy is still young, far from reaching the peak of his body and mind. Well, there's no need to follow me so close, Roy said awkwardly. Since leaving the conference room, Momoshiki has followed him step by step. It's really inseparable. With every step Roy takes, he makes physical contact with Momoshiki. I have to keep you safe, Momoshiki said quietly. After the initial excitement and anticipation had passed, Momoshiki felt tremendous pressure. Roy's safety is about Marine's future. There can be no mistakes, or you will be part of Marine. The pressure was so great that even Momoshiki felt his shoulders getting heavier. This is Marine headquarters, what kind of danger will there be, but it will be noticeable. Although Roy felt comfortable, he had to be reminded. Otherwise, it will inevitably feel strange to others. That's true, too, Momoshiki nodded, only to open up a little distance. Roy was still able to ask about the smell on Momoshiki, a faint fragrance. I don't know if it's the taste of Momoshiki itself or what spices are used. Using the bamboo dragonfly, the two quickly returned to the arsenal. Jarvis. When Roy returned to the office, the first thing he called out to Jarvis. Master, what are your orders? The small robot on the table responded. Momoshiki, who was following behind, was startled and immediately pulled out the long sword at his waist. Look around and want to find where the person speaking is. Ahem, this is my assistant. Roy explained, pointing to the robot on the table. He can talk. Momoshiki stared in disbelief. Jarvis, less than 20 centimeters long. This thing doesn't look like a phone bug either. He is also a scientific and technological product developed by me, responsible for helping me manage the arsenal. Of course, these are all secrets, only you alone know. Roy believes Momoshiki won't leak secrets. But Roy doesn't tell Momoshiki much, just a reasonable explanation. Of course, Momoshiki nodded and put away his sword. Jarvis, get ready to relocate part of the arsenal and split it, we may go to Eni's lobby. Roy gave instructions to Jarvis. Understood, Jarvis responded. Inside the arsenal, there are many production robots made by Jarvis, all controlled by Jarvis. They are responsible for the usual material handling and production, so Roy does not need to do it himself. Now to move to Eni's lobby, the core is still in the arsenal. However, a branch lab will be set up in Eni's lobby, taking away some of the machines and small cores to ensure that Eni's lobby's lab can run smoothly. No matter which arsenal Roy is in, he can remotely command another place. Make sure both places are under Roy's control. Roy also plans to build security systems in both bases, with autonomous defense robots and surveillance systems inside the bases. He is even ready to set up an automatic destruction system to ensure that after someone forcibly invades the base, nothing is available. This automatic destruction system is not an obsolete thing like a countdown bomb. Instead, everything in the arsenal was directly dissolved at an ultra-high temperature. As for Jarvis and Energy Core, they are in the depths of the absolutely safe underground and will not be threatened. This self-destruction method is enough to make all enemies give up curiosity. Unless Marineford is occupied, Roy's secrets will never be discovered. Do you want tea? It's just that this tea is very average. Roy ordered Jarvis and picked up the glass. Thank you. Momoshiki nodded as a teacup, thinking it was a kind word. After taking a sip, Momoshiki's brows furrowed slightly. This tea, it seems that it has been left for too long. And the taste is the tea distributed by Marine, which belongs to the material of a very ordinary soldier. How do you drink this tea? Momoshiki couldn't help but ask. I'm poorer here, so this tea. Roy smiled slightly. The tea remained in Roy's office because it couldn't be sold. Otherwise, it would have been sold by Roy for money. You have so much research funding. Momoshiki was flabbergasted. As far as she knows, the research funding awarded to Roy doesn't go anywhere. This is also the practice of the world government, giving scientists the greatest freedom. Make sure they can do their best to research and avoid outside interference. Of course, there are many people who fake scientific products and others in order to make money. If discovered, world government will not be polite, they will be convicted or completely expelled from Marine. In other words, as long as there are scientific results that satisfy the world government. So how much money is spent, it doesn't matter that much. Roy accepted billions of Baileys, but couldn't even buy tea. For Momoshiki, this is simply unimaginable. Roy is not an ascetic, why should he save so much? Could it be that for Roy, R&D technology is far more important than his own enjoyment? Instantly, Roy's image in Momoshiki's mind grew taller. Still short of money. For Roy, that's the only reason. Just as good steel is to be used on the cutting edge, Roy is still waiting for R&D funding. Where there is spare time to enjoy life. It's really hard work for you. Momoshiki said sincerely. But over the next few days, Momoshiki fell into suspicion again. Because Roy has been in the office since he came back, and he can't see him working or anything. It wasn't until it was getting dark that Roy took Momoshiki with him to dinner. Roy's dinner, also made by Jarvis. The taste is not as good as those skilled chefs, but it is not much worse. Momoshiki lamented the magic of the arsenal, everything is automated. By the way, where do you stay at night? Roy asked, seeing that it was not too early. Of course it's staying with you. Momoshiki is sure. Roy is embarrassed to sleep in the same room with such a big beauty. It's a test for yourself. Momoshiki is not an ordinary person, Admiral. If you really have a bestial hair in the middle of the night, it is estimated that you are still unlucky. Roy didn't mind sleeping in the same room as Momoshiki. But you can only look and not touch, dry eyes all day, then you still refuse. I also have a room next door, you can rest next door. Roy said with a dry cough. Roy lives in the Arsenal's dormitory. Only before that, other researchers had joined Vegapunk. Being part of the Vegapunk team left Roy alone. So the entire Arsenal was empty, including dormitories. That won't work. Your safety is paramount. Momoshiki immediately refused. I believe that with your strength, even if you live next door, you can protect me. Roy's clarity on Momoshiki's abilities. It is estimated that only pirates at the level of the Emperor and Deputy can compete with Momoshiki. In the plot, if the world government held a world conscription in order to deter pirates, accidentally got Fujitora and Green Bull, two super strongmen, then Momoshiki and T-Dolphin will naturally succeed as the new admiral. However, the side also shows that Momoshiki's strength has not yet reached overwhelming strength. Roy is inside the arsenal and doesn't really need Momoshiki's protection. Jarvis' defense system directly detects the thermal energy of living organisms. Defending against enemy infiltration is far more powerful than observation hockey. Sleeping next to you protects you more. Momoshiki insisted. Roy had no choice but to explain it to Momoshiki. There are surveillance systems around, and an alarm will be sounded if someone breaks in. It's never too late for Momoshiki to protect himself. What's more, with a big beauty like you around, how can I sleep? Roy quipped. Okay, Momoshiki reluctantly agreed. His cheeks turned red involuntarily. In Roy's heart, is he really a big beauty? Although Momoshiki had received a lot of flattery before, she didn't take it to heart. As a Marine, you shouldn't care about these insignificant things. It's just that these words came out of Roy's mouth, how to feel excited. By the way, the bathhouse is over there, I'll take a shower and rest first. Roy said, pointing to the end of the hallway. Because it is a dormitory, the bathhouses are concentrated at the end. According to Marine convention, they are divided into men and women. After all, the number of female soldiers in Marine is also very large. Roy had just taken a few steps to find Momoshiki still following behind him. Do you want to take a shower too? Roy asked curiously. Nope, I'm going in with you, Momoshiki shook his head. Ahem, I don't have to use it when I take a shower. Roy almost squirted. Being watched in the shower. He doesn't have that interest yet. It's dangerous to have a weapon not around when you take a bath. Momoshiki looked serious. As I said earlier, there is a surveillance system in the arsenal, don't be so nervous, relax. Roy tried to speak in the softest tone possible. He could now see that Momoshiki had been nervous ever since he received the task of protecting himself. It is estimated that several of their own scientific research is too important. Each has the ability to shake the world, causing Momoshiki to feel a heavy burden on his shoulders. Will be extra nervous and inseparable from Roy. Momoshiki became a little overwhelmed by Roy's concern. She never imagined that she would have such a nervous day. At this time, a pair of hands were placed on Momoshiki's shoulders. Look how hard your shoulders are, I'll give you a massage. Roy still knows some massage techniques. At least there's nothing wrong with letting Momoshiki relax. What Roy didn't expect was that his hand had just touched. Momoshiki's body collapsed directly into his arms. Are you sick? Roy looked at Momoshiki in surprise. Momoshiki's whole face was red at this moment, and his breathing became even more rapid. I'll just take a break. Momoshiki gasped. Okay, then I'll help you go back to the room first. Roy took Momoshiki in his arms and sent her back to the room step by step. Along the way, Roy could feel Momoshiki's hot breath. Could it be that there is something hidden in Momoshiki? Roy was lost in thought, and after so many years of Marine career, it was normal to leave injuries. If Momoshiki is serious, then should he prepare a fairy bean for her? You have a good rest. Roy helped Momoshiki to the bed and turned to leave. After Roy left, Momoshiki's breathing gradually calmed down. She didn't understand what was going on with her just now. It felt like I was different in front of Roy. I'm really not used to taking a boat now. Sengoku faced the blue sea and sighed. At this time, they were on a warship and headed for the Holy Land. The bamboo dragonfly is not used, it is to avoid people's eyes and ears. After all, their identities are very sensitive, and being discovered together will cause unnecessary speculation. To avoid trouble, it is better to take a warship. Martial Marine will be misunderstood when he says this. You have been using bamboo dragonflies for too long, and I don't feel any discomfort. Suru said with a slight smile next to him. Hearing this, Sengoku turned to face Suru very seriously and said, hard work on you. Quote. As long as Sengoku is away, Suru is in charge of the big picture. Of course, there is a lack of opportunities to use bamboo dragonflies. It also means that Suru has actually lost a lot of freedoms that originally belonged to her. He paid far more than his own marshal. The praise received, but the pity is pitiful. I have time to sigh here, and think about how to persuade that group of old men later. Suru waved his hand nonchalantly. That's true, too. Sengoku nodded. Along the way, Sengoku is also thinking about this question. 10 billion, that's not a small amount. Whether 5 elders will readily agree, no one is sure. It seems that it is necessary to make the old men pay more attention. Sengoku muttered. More attention, how else to pay more attention? Akainu next to him was curious. Of course, bring the 2 guys over. Sengoku has already figured out a way. The 2 guys he's talking about are Zephyr and Aokiji. If these 2 people also appeared in the Holy Land, it would definitely surprise 5 elders. Akainu frowned, he had already guessed what Sengoku meant. Akainu had no problem with this, and the presence of Aokiji and Zephyr would definitely improve the success rate of the negotiations. Just the mention of Aokiji makes Akainu feel awkward. Although both are Marine Admiral, the relationship between each other can only be described as not disturbing each other. Over the decades, 2 people have said no more than 10 words. If it weren't for the stakes this time, Akainu would definitely have offered not to go with Aokiji. I can see the teacher again. Kizaru has some expectations. Yes, I haven't seen him for a long time. Sengoku also wants to catch up with old acquaintances. Especially after that incident, Zephyr became withdrawn. Even the usual style has changed. Once did not kill Admiral, no longer treated pirates with mercy. Sengoku was worried about the psychological state of his old comrades. The first half of the Grand Line. On the boundless sea, a small black dot is moving slowly. Surprisingly, when this little black dot gradually approached, only to find out that this is not a boat moving on the sea, but a bicycle. Bicycle will actually appear on the sea. If you say it, I am afraid that it will be considered crazy. However, after seeing the people riding bicycles, I am afraid that no one dares to question them. In its place is unquenchable fear. Marine Admiral, Aokiji. Devil Fruit Logia, owner of frozen fruit. Anything you come into contact with can freeze and create weapons in any form. With Aokiji's strength, it is possible to freeze all substances without even touching them directly, including part of the sea surface freezing, in order to ride a bicycle on it. It is worthy of being Master's grandson. Aokiji muttered. Just now, Aokiji encountered the Straw Hat Pirates. It is not accurate to say that the encounter is not accurate, but Aokiji took the initiative to find the other party. In addition to Luffy, the Straw Hat who recently came out in the limelight, Aokiji has another person he wants to meet. Nico Robin. Aokiji wanted to see how much the little girl she let go had grown. What didn't disappoint him was that Robin had grown up. The only question now is whether Straw Hat Luffy and the others are Robin's worthy companions. And the reason for letting Luffy go, not just because of Garp. It's all the more because of Alabasta, thanks to Luffy who saved the country. Aokiji. This is a thank you to Luffy. Even if Luffy is now a pirate, Aokiji won't feel anything wrong. As long as the behavior is correct, Aokiji won't mind. Bulu Brew. At this moment, the phone bug in the pocket rang. After connecting, the phoneworm's face changed to Sengoku's appearance. Aokiji. Where are you now? Sengoku's voice followed. Near the capital of Seven Waters. Aokiji looked around and replied. He has not yet left the confines of the water capital. What are you doing in that place? Sengoku frowned. Hang out. Aokiji didn't care. He didn't say the true purpose of his trip. Now there is something important. You immediately return to the Holy Land, and we will attend a meeting. Sengoku's tone was a little helpless. No matter what time of day, Aokiji looks lazy. Is this a mandatory order? Aokiji thought about refusing. Going to the Holy Land for a conference meant dealing with the 5 elders, and Aokiji had no interest. Aokiji inherited Master Garp and was more resistant to world government's orders. However, if this is a mandatory order from Sengoku, then Aokiji, who is admiral, must attend. No, but this meeting is bigger than ever. Have a deep relationship with the future of Marine. I hope you will come. On the other side of Sengoku, it is more solemn than ever. Aokiji was stunned. He had never heard Sengoku's voice so serious. And it says it has something to do with Marine's future. I see, I'll return to the Holy Land. Aokiji nodded. Say your specific location, I'll send someone to pick you up, we have to hurry. Sengoku breathed a sigh of relief. In fact, Sengoku's biggest concern was that Aokiji refused to come to the meeting. This proud disciple of Garp has similarities with Garp. Aokiji reported his specific latitude and longitude and told Sengoku on the other end of the phone. What he didn't expect was that it was less than half an hour. One Marine found itself. Looking at Marine flying quickly from the sky, Aokiji was stunned. Is this a bamboo dragonfly? Even if he saw it with his own eyes, Aokiji was still unbelievable. The bamboo dragonfly is only the size of a palm, and it can fly so quickly when fixed on the head. Aokiji also learned about the existence of bamboo dragonflies from newspapers. However, the photos taken in the newspaper were not clear, only a group of Marine flying in the air. The notice issued by Marine did not specifically describe the appearance of the bamboo dragonfly. Instead, the bamboo dragonfly is described as a cross-era equipment. Admiral, the Marine that came to greet Aokiji was a Commodore. Aokiji was seen far away, shouting loudly to indicate that he was not hostile. A large sheet of ice under Aokiji's feet glows crystal clear from far away. It is easy to see from the air, which is the advantage of the bamboo dragonfly. Unlike the previous Straw Hat Pirates, it was only discovered after Aokiji got closer. Are you going to come alone? Aokiji was a little confused. He didn't see warships or anything like that. Yes, I brought you bamboo dragonflies. Commodore came to the ground and took out a bamboo dragonfly from his pocket. Aokiji took the bamboo dragonfly and looked at it carefully, still feeling incredible. Marine's technology has come to this point now. The Marshal told you to hurry to the Holy Land. Commodore reminded with a smile. It seems that no matter who it is, they will be very surprised when they see the bamboo dragonfly. Even if it's Admiral, it's the same. This kind of scene Commodore has also seen a lot, and if no one reminds me, it is normal to watch it for hours. Has something happened recently? Aokiji asked curiously. Sengoku inside the phone bug did not elaborate, but Aokiji can feel that Sengoku is urgent. Don't you know that the New World G6 branch was attacked by Kaido? Commodore looked surprised. This has become Marine, the hottest topic nowadays. Everyone is talking about when Marine will choose to go to war with 4 Emperors Kaido. Aokiji's appearance is obviously unknown to such a big event. There is such a thing. Aokiji's eyes widened. Recently, he has been riding a bicycle looking for the Straw Hat Pirates. The only thing they carry is a phone bug that can contact Sengoku. Who would have thought that without warning, 4 Emperors Kaido would choose to go to war? Today in the Crescent Bay of the Naval Headquarters, another incident caused a sensation, when the Marshal and 2 other Admiral also went, but what happened is now classified as confidential. Commodore continued. Commodore knew the whole story, and he was one of the witnesses below. It's just that Commodore just knew that Burning Mountain was dying and badly injured, and then returned to normal without knowing why. As for the Sendo thing, Commodore is unclear. With Sengoku's order here, even in the face of Admiral Aokiji, Commodore will not reveal the slightest information. Looks like I need to go back. Aokiji's expression became serious. Under Commodore's explanation, Aokiji learned to bring a bamboo dragonfly. Giving the bike to Commodore, Aokiji tries to fly to the Holy Land himself. Meanwhile, New World is a certain sea. A warship was sailing on the sea, and Zephyr stood on the deck with calm eyes. Behind this warship are the ruins of a pirate ship. Already sinking to the bottom, huge pirate flags are devastated and floating on the sea. An hour ago, this was a group of pirates with a captain's bounty of 70 million. Now the entire group of pirates has sunk to the bottom, and not a single living mouth remains. They were unlucky enough to meet Zephyr, once known as the Black Arm. Report teacher. Not a single living mouth remained. Behind him, also Marine student Bins came to report. Good. Zephyr nodded indifferently. There is not the slightest confusion in the eyes. After a tragic ordeal, Zephyr fitted his severed arm with a seastone prosthesis. His heart also seemed to become as hard as stone. He formed a guerrilla army that roamed outside the official structure of Marine, and regarded the elimination of pirates as his only goal. Admiral, who once did not kill him, is no longer merciful. Teacher. A call worm from Marshal Sengoku. At this moment, another student, Ain, ran over with a phone worm. Sengoku. Zephyr was a bit of a surprise. It didn't occur to me that Sengoku would call herself. Zephyr forgot when it was the last time Sengoku contacted him. The recent life of hunting pirates has made him a little addicted to it. Looking at the struggling faces of the pirates, Zephyr's heart can generate satisfaction and reduce grief. Zephyr, I need you to go back to the Holy Land. As soon as I picked up the earpiece, Sengoku's voice came over. My duty is no longer there, my mission now is to hunt pirates in New World. Zephyr said lightly. It didn't even ask why Sengoku needed to get himself back. Zephyr is not yet at the point of despair for the world government. However, it is inevitable that the heart is full of disappointment. World government has never been able to completely solve the pirate problem. On the contrary, with the advent of the era of sea thieves, the world has become more and more chaotic. This, combined with what happened to Zephyr himself, made him suspicious of the world government. Whether his beliefs and persistence over the years are really correct. Now the only thing Zephyr can be sure of is to eradicate all the pirates, and there is absolutely no mistake. Sengoku on the other end of the phone side. Sengoku is very understandable about Zephyr's transformation. After all, the death of relatives and students, and the heavy blow caused by broken arms. It is equivalent to making Zephyr's body and mind suffer a serious blow, and this man has changed his temperament. Sengoku couldn't get Zephyr's mind to change. But now with Sendo, Zephyr's body can be repaired. The Ministry of Scientific Research has developed a latest product called Sendo that can completely repair your arm. Sengoku said directly. How is this possible? Zephyr shook his head, thinking Sengoku was joking. Zephyr had never heard that Marine now had such high technology. The name Shiondo is even more unfamiliar. If it really has this effect, someone will use it first. It's true, and the development of bamboo dragonflies is with a person, Sengoku said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Zephyr was stunned. Zephyr is outside the Marine formation, but he is the former admiral. Intelligence materials and the like are still provided by Marine. It is even known that there are now subversive weapons within Marine. All are Marine's latest scientific products. According to the grapevine, these scientific products were invented by a scientific star in Marine. Can I really get my arm back? Zephyr asked suspiciously. For his arm, Zephyr has long lost hope. But after listening to Sengoku's words, he couldn't help but feel a wave in his heart. If the arm can be restored, the former black arm Zephyr will come again. The thought of the pirate's terrified look made Zephyr even more excited. Sendo has been tested. However, it has not yet been mass-produced, and the only experimental product has been consumed. Sengoku explained clearly over there. Otherwise, when Zephyr came in high spirits, he found that he would have to wait a while. This Marine Marshal himself is estimated to be beaten as well. So let Zephyr know in advance and be prepared. Sengoku isn't worried about Zephyr leaking secrets either. As a former admiral, this professionalism is still there. Not to mention Zephyr's attitude towards pirates right now. So I came to me this time, it should be for R&D funding. Zephyr immediately understood Sengoku's intentions. In a short period of time, bamboo dragonflies and subversive weapons were mass-produced and equipped. The financial pressure is certainly great. So Sengoku went to the Holy Land on his own, definitely for money. That's right. If you want to mass-produce fairy beans as soon as possible, you must go to the Holy Land to find those old men. Sengoku nodded. Hear Sengoku call 5 elders, for the old men. Zephyr was crying and laughing. It seems that they are no longer young now, and they are all old men in the world. Will soon retire from the stage of history. But it gave Zephyr a familiar feel. Everything seemed to go back to when they were young. Rushing the sea, chasing the pirates happily. Many of those pirates have already been called legends. Well, I'll rush back as soon as possible. Zephyr promised to come down. Tell me your coordinates, I'll send the nearest marine branch to send you bamboo dragonflies. Sengoku can't wait for Zephyr to slowly return from New World. Holy Land, Mariajoy. When Marine Marshal, as well as 3 Admiral and Crane staff officers, Zephyr, appeared here. Everyone was shocked. Could it be that something drastic changed that led to the collective appearance of Marine executives? Thinking of the news of Kaido's attack on the Marine branch, the soldiers of the Holy Land were panicked for a while. They all believe that the presence of the highest level of Marine here is a precursor to a decisive battle with Kaido. The 5 elders, who received the news, were equally shocked, and this was the first time Sengoku led all the Marine executives to come. So he immediately arranged to meet Sengoku and others in the conference room of the World Government Building. Such a sudden visit, Sengoku. What do you want to do? 5 elders scolded as soon as they met. Whatever Sengoku wants to do, it shouldn't be so fanfare. Once noticed by well-intentioned people, it will cause unnecessary chain reactions. There was a reason for this, so we had to come together. Sengoku's face was solemn. The 5 elders looked at each other, their eyes full of doubt. Could it be that something big happened that made Sengoku have to make this decision? But the world government's intelligence network did not observe any major events. Wano Kuni has been calm until now. With Kaido's injury, Wano Kuni instead stepped up his own security, apparently waiting for Kaido to recover. The other 3 Sea Emperors did not show their minions at this time and began to act. Instead, they are waiting for each other with a tacit understanding. You don't have to think about it, they're all waiting for Marine and Kaido's next move. After waiting for the victory and defeat, it will surround it like a vulture, eating the remains of the loser. I want to see what is the matter that is worth giving up your duties. 5 elders are imposing. If Sengoku can't give a suitable reason, then even Sengoku, as a marshal, will be punished. It's related to Roy's scientific work, Sengoku said immediately. Could it have something to do with lightsabers? The bald elder stood up suddenly, his eyes full of worry. The bald elder asked for the lightsaber test from Sengoku last time. Take your lightsaber with you whenever you want. The 3rd generation has long been put up and replaced by a lightsaber. It was even sent to the arsenal during the period for an energy replenishment. It is enough to prove that the bald elder holds a lightsaber, not just a decoration. So the bald elder understands better than anyone the power of a lightsaber. Definitely worthy of the title of latent weapon. Burning Mountain is seriously injured, and the lightsaber and bamboo dragonfly are lost. It has already worried the bald elders. If the lightsaber technology is imitated, it means that Marine's superiority in weapons will no longer be there. It's not a lightsaber, it's another study by Roy, something called Sendo. Sengoku spoke out about the efficacy of Senbean. The 5 elders frowned and looked at Sengoku with skeptical eyes. It can instantly restore the best state of the body, and will not be hungry for 10 days. Even if there is only 1 breath left, the injury can be completely treated. Even terminal illnesses can be treated. This is already more exaggerated than op fruit, the therapeutic effect. Of course, op fruit also hides the secret of immortality, and the value is incomparable. Sengoku, it's not that we don't believe you, it just sounds unbelievable. The scarred old man considered the words. After all, Sengoku wasn't the only one who came, but also 3 other Admiral and Suru staff officers and Zephyr. To question Sengoku directly is to question everyone. We have all seen with our own eyes that the Burning Mountain was saved by a fairy being under the brink of death. Akainu spoke, his eyes full of determination. Come to the Holy Land today, and in any case, get the approval of 5 elders to set up a laboratory in Eni's lobby. And funds for Roy to mass-produce fairy beans. It's simply a miracle. After we are all equipped with fairy beans, the pirates will not be enough to hang their teeth. Kizaru followed suit. This surprised both Aokiji and Zephyr. Kizaru, who has never cared much about Marine, offered his opinion. It seems that they are all determined to get R&D funds. Believe it's true, so what does Roy need? The bald elder asked. Just looking at his eyes, it was still hard to believe. Shiando is not a weapon, or a scientific research equipment. It completely subverted their perception of the world. Enies lobby gives Roy a piece of land inside, where there is a 24-hour vision, which is in line with the production environment of Shando, and needs 10 billion in research and development funds. Sengoku took the opportunity to say, setting up a lab on the sacred Enies lobby. $10 billion in R&D funding are also needed. It's too much. Not much time has passed since the last request for funds. 5 elders originally wanted to get angry, but suddenly thought of the value of fairy beans. With such an amazing scientific research product, what kind of environment is provided is not excessive. But Enies lobby is in a special location, and there has never been such a special case before. With their grip on power, they can't give an answer for a while. Were you all present when Burning Mountain was back to health? The scarred old man asked again. Neither Aokiji nor Zephyr was there, and except for the two of them, Marine Gauzen basically witnessed it. Sengoku also told in detail about the process of eating senbeans at that time. An incomparable green glow, and the breath of life that emanates. Hearing these descriptions sent 5 elders into deep thought. Perhaps Roy can also redevelop this fairy bean. At that time, not only can you restore health, but even make people rejuvenated. Thinking of this, 5 elders' eyes flickered. Anyone who gets the fairy bean is equivalent to having a second life. They even imagined that if Roger had obtained fairy beans 20 years ago, he would have cured his disease. That would be a world government nightmare. If Roger lives to this day, the damage to the prestige of the world government will be unimaginable. I am afraid that the era of sea pirates will be more choppy than it is now. We need some time to discuss. 5 elders didn't dare to jump to conclusions. The appearance of fairy beans is really beyond their imagination. It's better to hurry. After all, war can break out at any time. This is the real reason why Sengoku gathered the crowd. Kaido has chosen to go to war with Marine, and they can't sit still. Whether it's the next step to take the initiative or wait for the moment. You have to be prepared. If Shanda can be equipped in the hands of Admiral and others, then Beast's pirates will not be a problem. Because of this importance, Sengoku even called out to Aokiji and Zephyr. Of course, the bald elder nodded. After Sengoku and the others left, 5 elders left the world government building. Traveled to the deepest part of Pengu City. Under the high throne, the 5 elders knelt on the ground in unison. The matter of Shiando was reported to the existence they did not dare to look up to. White bones and raw meat, cure all diseases. Was also surprised. In Im's long life, I have never heard of such a magical thing. According to 5 elders, Sengoku and others witnessed the scene. Otherwise, would never believe that such an item exists. That's right, 5 elders nodded. Frowned and thought for a moment. Everything meets Roy's requirements. Gave the answer. Whether it's opening a lab at Enies lobby or 10 billion in funding, there's no problem. Yes, 5 elders responded. In the future, keep an eye on Roy's actions. This person needs to be in the hands of the world government. Continued. We'll use the same security as Vegapunk. 5 elders has the same plan. Once Roy himself or the technology is leaked, the consequences are incalculable. It's not just a loss to the world government, it's more likely to cause chaos in the world. Nope, Roy has to be treated differently, not to let him find out, but also not to let him go. Shook his head. Roy and Vegapunk are different after all. Vegapunk was captured by the world government. Roy is among the researchers who volunteered to join Marine. If discovered by Roy, he is being spied on by the world government, who is supposed to be a comrade in arms. Then it will definitely deal a blow to Roy, which will affect his development efficiency. You mean, send CP troops to spy secretly? The scarred old man asked cautiously. Just understand, go down. Yim said lightly. 5 elders said a word and walked away with his head bowed. On the huge throne, Yim sat here alone. Roy. Muttered the name Roy, not knowing what he was thinking. After returning from Pengu City, 5 elders summoned Sengoku and the others again. Roy's requirements are all met, and you can also ask us as soon as you have any requirements in the future. Five elders smiled. In other words, I only need to be responsible for conveying it. Sengoku asked. Five elders nodded. After receiving an affirmative answer, Sengoku already understood. This is equivalent to being the liaison between Roy and five elders. If you have any problems in the future, just throw them directly to five elders, and it's much easier for yourself. Thinking of this, a smile appeared at the corner of Sengoku's mouth. Troubles such as funds are finally no longer their own troubles. In addition, the results of this research are fairy beans, and the world government needs to leave half of the products. Five elders went ahead and made demands. Of course, no problem. Sengoku nodded. World government also has its own troops, and it's normal to need these things. Even the previous bamboo dragonfly, five elders, also recruited some of the past. Therefore, five elders proposed that these high-level officials such as Sendo and Sengoku have already been prepared, so they will agree so cheerfully. In addition, Roy's rank should be promoted, he seems to be a colonel now. The bald old man felt that he should not be mistaken. That's right, not so long ago it was just a major. Sengoku is happy for Roy. With these words from five elders, Roy will definitely be able to go up the next level. This is also an affirmation of Roy's hard work during this time. Then go straight to Vice Admiral. Old Man Scar said casually. Straight from the Colonel to Vice Admiral. There is also Commodore and Rear Admiral in between, which is too big a span. Even Akainu and the others were taken aback. Such a fast promotion speed was something they had never seen before. It's like riding a rocket. But none of those present expressed opposition. Because in their opinion, Roy deserves it. Even Vice Admiral's words don't prove Roy's worth. Zephyr, who had been silent, frowned slightly at this time. Zephyr also had no problem with Roy's promotion. However, five elders' attitude made Zephyr very unhappy. The culmination of world government, five elders. It's so casual to do things. But Zephyr didn't say it either. As Marine Admiral, he has seen too many injustices. After the meeting, Sengoku invited Zephyr to stay at Marine headquarters. With Roy's previous research speed, the progress of Xiando will not be too slow, as long as the funds are available quickly. Sengoku patted Zephyr on the shoulder. Zephyr nodded and did not refuse. Meanwhile, World Economic Daily Headquarters. Morgans looked at the telegram sent back by the Seagull, more excited than ever. He knew the details of the Marine branch being attacked by the four emperors. Unbeknownst to the world, Kaido's serious injuries and the role of subversive weapons in it. Because of the prestige of the four emperors, Morgans did not choose to report it first. What is happening now at Marine headquarters has turned Morgan's perception upside down. The magic beans that the young man took out were like magic. Let the originally dying and seriously injured Burning Mountain be revived with full blood. If it hadn't been for the photographs, Morgans wouldn't have believed it. After confirming through channels, Burning Mountain has recovered to health. This giant of journalism was shocked for a long time. A magical little bean, but it can pry the world pattern. Morgans muttered. With Morgan's sense of news, it's easy to associate the key. Marine Admiral level combat power, if equipped with this bean, will be unstoppable. It will certainly be able to impact the existing order of the current world. And this unprecedented big news is in the hands of Morgans. Morgans even felt some shortness of breath. In previous reports, Morgans played the role of a narrator, telling the public everything they knew. But in the news this time, Morgans felt the power to shake the world. Provoke a four emperors and all die a terrible death. Morgans took the telegram and walked around the room. At the same time, his heart was also entangled. Morgans is well aware that the medicine to treat the Burning Mountain once exposed itself. Then Kaido, who had previously attacked the Marine branch and was seriously injured, the situation would take a turn for the worse. Conversely, the world government won't thank Morgans. Marine has its own plans. With such a secret leaked, it is not too much to arrest him. Stirring up two major forces at once, Morgans felt that he wasn't that stupid yet. Forget it, don't care. Morgans threw the telegram in the trash. Just as if nothing had happened. But the next second, he immediately bent down the trash can to pick up the telegram again. When the big news was lost in his hands, Morgans realized how desperate he was. For a journalist, big news is even more important than his life. No matter what his world moves, I am a news person, just to report the news. Morgans gritted his teeth and decided. Report everything you know. As for what the consequences will be, that's not Morgan's concern. The truth. The whole world is thirsty for the truth. Whether Kaido is seriously injured or world government's confidential new technology products. Morgans planned to report it together, and what happened after that had nothing to do with him. But neither Kaido nor confidential new products qualify for the first edition. His gaze was fixed on a photograph tucked inside the telegram. The photo shows a smiling young man wearing a white coat, very handsome and refreshing. No one would have thought that it was this young man who developed a series of equipment such as bamboo dragonflies. Unknowingly, it has a huge impact on the world. To get this photo, Morgans paid a lot of sacrifice and price. However, it was all worth it. Morgans took a pen and, on the white paper in front of him, wrote the headline of tomorrow's newspaper. The next day, the storm version of the news swept the world. 4 emperors. Kaido attacked Marine base and left badly because of it, the subversive weapon Lightsaber. Marine Vice Admiral, who fought to the death to resist Kaido, seriously injured and severed his limb, and after eating this Marine miracle medicine, he was completely cured, and his strength broke through the original limit, Xian. The man who changed the world, the super scientist who surpassed Vegapunk, Roy. The first page of this new newspaper is a picture of Roy smiling. Morgans is convinced that the person in this photo will appear many times in the future. As soon as the newspaper was published, it caused a tsunami-like shock. Whether it's ordinary people, pirates and marine, or the Revolutionary Army and the dark underground forces have been greatly impacted. East Blue, a tavern in a certain country. Rebirth of severed limbs. How is this possible? A person holding a newspaper does not believe the report on it at all. It's not impossible. Having this scientist named Roy has allowed a lot of marine to fly. Another person next to him retorted. I think it's strange, there is so much good news for marine. Just like that, Kaido attacked the G6 branch, it won't be marine's smoke bomb, cover up your incompetence. Didn't you see that Kaido was also seriously injured? Still just a vice admiral, marine is really stronger now. Quote. The two made small talk. At this moment, a man on crutches stepped in front of them. 2 gentlemen, can you tell us what you're talking about? The other party spoke. Hey, you yourself won't buy a newspaper to read. It turns out that you are blind. The person holding the newspaper wanted to curse, but found that the middle-aged man who came was blind. 2 hideous scars, in the shape of X, from the forehead to below the corners of the eyes. I don't know what happened to make such a terrifying mark. Another man cheerfully told the story in the newspaper. So it is, interesting. The middle-aged man nodded. Hey, blind. In the future, if the technology of Shando can be extended to civilian use, maybe your eyes can also be restored. One of them said. It's a blessing not to see things, there are too many dirty and vulgar people in the world. The middle-aged man said lightly. You're in good shape. The man quipped. Thank you both, I take my leave. The middle-aged man turned around and left, leaving the 2 men with a puzzled look. It's a strange blind man, and quite polite. It is for this middle-aged man, their unanimous evaluation. If they know that middle-aged people choose to close their eyes, they don't know what to think. At the same time all over the world, unlike middle-aged people, those who have become disabled by accidents or war, or who are suffering from illness. Seeing today's news, they cheered one after another, and a wave of hope welled up in their hearts. Great, medical technology has finally advanced. I also have a day to be able to walk again. Quote. As long as I keep at it, my disease will be saved. Contact the world government immediately. I want to spend money to buy fairy beans, whether it is $1 billion or $2 billion. I'm all paid. Quote. The appearance of fairy beans is tantamount to a bombshell. Let many people who have already accepted their fate, or have a heart like Shisui. All ignited the hope of life. Among them, there are some rich and noble people, and they have to find a way to buy fairy beans at all costs. Compared to meaningless digital money, a fairy bean that can save your life is more important. New World Ideographic Period. Dreza Ross. Boss, there is big news today. Torrebel burst into the room and slammed the newspaper on the table. Brother Ming, who was originally leaning on the chair and closing his eyes, stretched slowly. Marine attacked, or is Kaido doing it again? Brother Ming yawned. In Ming's view, today's world can be made big news. That's all for these two things. As for the other 4 emperors, Mingo had already judged that they would not act. In these turbulent times, sitting on a mountain and watching the tiger fight is a wise choice. Boss, I can't tell, see for yourself. Torrebel looked anxious. Well, you should also be calm when you encounter things and be clear-headed in order to make correct judgments. Brother Ming picked up the newspaper a little reluctantly. Yes, Torrebel was a little ashamed. Compared to Brother Min, he was really too far behind. In the next second, Torrebel heard a sound of vacating the ground. Brother Ming jumped up directly from the chair and looked at the newspaper in front of him stunned. Even the sunglasses were taken off, for fear that I would see it wrong. The emergence of subversive weapons. Kaido injured, and this thing called Sendo. Brother Mingo is unbelievable. There were too many news at once, so that Brother Ming couldn't react a little. As soon as subversive weapons appeared, the whole world was shocked. Kaido attacked the G6 branch and was seriously injured by the lightsaber. What is the sudden appearance of fairy beans, which can have such a magical effect? Let the burning mountain that was about to die be able to restore health. Every news shocked Brother Ming. Even more furious. Because he had not heard of the news until it was reported. Mingo prides himself on being the ruler of the dark underground forces, but none of this information is known. At this moment, the rest of the family members also poured into the room. They were also shocked by the news in the newspapers. Boss, we're in Marine's intelligence network. In the words, there were doubts about Vergo. Such important information was not detected at all. Is it a dereliction of duty, or is there another reason? Vergo, like Toripal, was one of the first partners to become Mingo. After meeting Mingo as a child, he showed Conqueror's hockey. Just decide that the other party will become the king of the world and establish the Don Quixote pirates together. And obedience to Brother Ming, the relationship between the two is good. Vergo also called Mingo Dover. Apparently Torrebel also did not believe that Vergo would betray, he was worried that something would go wrong with Vergo. Mingo nodded silently and took out the phone worm that specifically contacted Vergo from his arms. Bulu brew. The phone worm rang for a long time, but the other side did not answer. A sense of foreboding hangs over everyone's heart. Vergo, nothing will happen to him. Jola, one of the family leaders, asked worriedly. As the most caring aunt in the family, Jorah is worried about Vergo. Hearing Jorah say this, the others became equally worried. The cadres of the Don Quixote pirates have at least 10 years of affection. Most of them are orphans and have long regarded family members as unrelated relatives. Bulu brew. The phone worm in Mingo's hand rang, and it was Vergo calling. What's going on? Why didn't you answer the phone just now? Mingo questioned. Sorry Dover, I have been under surveillance during this time, and this is how I have the opportunity to contact you. On the other end of the line, Vergo explained. Surveillance. After hearing this word, the family members all became nervous. Could it be that Vergo's recent attempts to probe marine secrets have made people suspicious of him? Have you been discovered? Brother Ming asked directly. It's not. Just because I witnessed everything that happened at the port of Marine headquarters, I was treated as a witness, and all witnesses were in an environment of mutual supervision, and any individual action would be regarded as a leak. Vergo explained. There were many soldiers who witnessed the healing of the burning mountain on the pier. The best way to make sure these people can't leak secrets is to monitor each other. So after leaving the dock, Marine developed a 4-person group plan of action. At all times, 4 people must supervise each other, even if they are taking a shower or going to the toilet. Under these circumstances, Vergo was unable to pass on the information to Mingo for a while. But as newspapers come to light, the plan of mutual supervision makes no sense. Vergo had the opportunity to contact Mingo. So it is. Brother Ming nodded and already understood. It's not that Vergo doesn't try, it's that Marine's blockade is impeccable. This made Brother Ming even more curious about what kind of people could get this information. It's my fault for not communicating this important information. Vergo's side is very aggrieved. Vergo is also always looking for opportunities, which is the intelligence that shakes the world. It's just that without waiting for him to succeed, someone has already poked it out in advance. Nothing. You have also done your best, and not revealing your identity is the most important thing. Quote. Mingo chose to forgive Vergo and then hung up. Vergo is thriving in Marine and his position is sure to go further. If you expose it now, the gain is not worth the loss. Sendo. Another amazing product that will have a huge impact on Marine and the world. Mingo muttered. With Brother Ming's insight, he understood how powerful the little immortal being contained. Boss, so are we going to tell Kaido about that? Torebel asked. Brother Ming waved his hand and said, there is no need for this, it is estimated that Wano Kuni has already seen the newspaper. Wano Kuni is now controlled by Kaido, not the country that used to be closed. Wano Kuni ideographic period. After dozens of tests, the exhausted Quinn was pulled out of the lab by Jack. The scars on this body make it difficult to connect him with the famous 3 plagues. The reason is that 2 days ago, the lightsaber could not withstand Quinn's toss. I don't know where it touched, and the energy of the lightsaber exploded itself. The powerful impact destroyed most of the laboratory, and even Quinn almost accounted for it in the laboratory. Fortunately, the remaining energy of the lightsaber itself is not much, and Quinn is forced to bear it with his strong body. Even so, he insisted on conducting research in the laboratory with injuries and illnesses for the past 2 days. What are you taking me out for? What's more important than studying lightsabers and bamboo dragonflies? Quinn yelled at Jack in a rageous manner. There was little progress in the research, and Quinn was inevitably angry. There are more important things. Everyone is waiting for you. Jack looked solemn. Quinn was stunned, knowing that something big must have happened. When Quinn arrives at the room, he finds that more than just Ember and Kaido are present. Even Rokuko Valley and Yamato were present. At this time, among the Valley 6, there is no Drake, but another pirate. It was replaced by Drake at a later date. Everyone was holding a newspaper in their hands, and their expressions were very dull. Even seeing Quinn and Jack walk in, no one reacted. Quinn saw that there was still a large pile of newspapers on the table, so he stepped forward and picked up one. Next, Quinn's expression was the same as everyone else's. The news of Kaido's serious injury was reported. What's going on? There are traitors inside Wano Kuni. It was still a surviving soldier of the G6 branch who saw Kaido's wounded appearance. What is Fairy Bean? You can even be reborn with severed limbs, and you can be resurrected in one breath. Could it be that the person who developed the Fairy Bean has cracked the secret of the bloodline factor? Only by fully developing the ability of the bleeding factor can we make such a magical item in a targeted manner. Even more important is the person who developed it all, Roy. How young it would be. How much wisdom is in his head. For a while, feelings such as jealousy, envy, and hatred came to mind. Quinn had to admit that Roy's intelligence was hard to match. Not to mention the more magical fairy beans. Even the secrets of bamboo dragonflies and lightsabers have no clue until now. On the other hand, Kaido stared at Roy in the newspaper, gritting his teeth with hatred. The wounds on the body that had not yet healed were filled with a painful sensation. In the face of the powerful destructive power of the lightsaber, Kaido's proud recovery ability and physique seemed to have lost its effect. Now if Roy appears in front of Kaido, Kaido can smash Luo Yi into pieces. Especially after learning that Hao Yao Shan had eaten fairy beans and had fully recovered, Kaido was even more angry. The guy who thought he had been pinched to death is now happy. But he still had to endure the pain of the wound. The atmosphere is eerily quiet. Faced with sudden shocking news, they are confused about the future. Roy is amazing. It's so handsome. Truly a genius scientist at Marine. A sudden exclamation woke everyone up. Looking towards the person who spoke, he was stunned to see that it was Yamato. At this time, Yamato had an excited smile on his face, and he was staring at the Roy photo in the newspaper with fascinated eyes. He has completely regarded Roy as his idol. Yamato feels that Roy will be Wano Kuni's savior. This is something that even Kazuki Oden has not done. Everyone glared angrily at Yamato, who took filial piety. With today's newspaper news coming to light, Wano Kuni's situation will become difficult. Now everyone knows that Kaido was seriously injured, and Marine has weapons to deal with many. Yamato was able to find out with a smile. Also admire the marine scientist Roy who made the lightsaber. Captain, Yamato's anti-bone boy can't stay. Please don't waste your mind on her. Run, one of the 6 sons of the volley, couldn't stand it and said. Frightened, Peggy Wan next to him quickly covered Ratty's mouth. Leave Kaido-sama's family affairs alone. Peggy Wan whispered. Although the others did not say anything, their expressions and eyes showed their inner thoughts. They also wondered why Kaido kept Yamato around. Could it be that he is really scrupulous, the so-called family affection? However, Kaido has long been out of sight. Ignore her. Kaido waved his hand and said. Yamato stared at the newspaper with an obsessive giggle, and he didn't care about what was happening. How credible is the fairy bean developed by Marine? Kaido looked at Quinn and shifted the conversation to the newspaper. That's why I found Quinn. Hearing this, the crowd did not chase Yamato again. Things in the newspapers, the regiment is their main concern. Quinn shook his head in denial, but nodded the next second. Everyone was very strange when they saw Quinn's reaction. If you have anything to say, just say it. Ember said at this time. Now that the situation is urgent, any opinion is important. At my level of science, I don't know. Quinn looked complicated. To put it bluntly, Quinn doesn't understand. Don't look at him in front of everyone, he is a very powerful scientist. But in front of Roy, Quinn feels illiterate. Whether it is a lightsaber or a bamboo dragonfly, the technology contained in it plays beyond the times. Without waiting for questions from everyone, Quinn then added another sentence to explain his words. What I'm sure of is that Vegapunk can't make these scientific products from Roy either. Even Vegapunk can't be made. Everyone looked at each other and realized the seriousness of the matter. Vegapunk is already known to have 500 years of technology that has led the world. So Roy is even better than Vegapunk. What does that mean? Those present no longer dared to think about it. My worldview is collapsing step by step. Powerful as Kaido, you will be seriously injured by an inconspicuous weapon. A big thing can make a person fly at high speed. Fava bean-like beings can be reborn with severed limbs and snatch people from Shinigami's hands. What will happen in the future, no one present has confidence. Perhaps the incredibly powerful Beast's pirates will be eliminated by history in the blink of an eye. Ironically, Beast's pirates is also using the power of technology to build itself. Trying to use the artificial devil fruit to create an army of zone abilities. If it ends up losing to stronger technology, it becomes a joke. The appearance of fairy beans is very unfavorable to us, Ember said slowly. This sentence is equivalent to having tacitly acknowledged that the existence of fairy beans is a fact. News even Kaido was seriously injured, and this intelligence came to light. That fairy bean must also be real. There were examples of bamboo dragonflies and lightsabers in front of him, and Ember had to believe it. Marine had another miraculous invention that shook the world. Once Shondo popularizes equipment on a large scale, Marine will definitely take action. Among the 6 sons, Futz, who was once a member of CP9, looked worried. Foz knew very well that Marine was very efficient when he got serious. So what to do? Are we going to sit still? Now is not the time to strike. How many pairs of eyes are watching us? That's right, especially since Lord Kaido is still recuperating, Wano Kuni can't be empty. Everyone was anxiously talking. Right now, their enemies aren't just Marine, but other 4 emperors. Beware of even other ambitious pirates who want to replace Kaido as the new 4 emperors. The troublesome guy is this Roy, can't you just kill it? Runmei pointed to Roy's photo in the newspaper and said what she thought. Although everyone knows that Runtian is a straight-talking guy. But the words that came out so brainless that they left everyone speechless. What's wrong? Don't you think that's a good idea? This Roy looks very weak. Run is very puzzled. Hearing this, everyone looked at the photos in the newspaper again. Roy, wearing a white coat, is surrounded by a group of marine bigwigs, like stars holding the moon, which is difficult to ignore. But it also highlights Roy's characteristics even more, and from the outside, it doesn't look like a perennial cultivation. On the contrary, the skin is very fair, which should be the reason for always staying in the laboratory. Human energy is limited. It is impossible to be a scientific genius on the one hand, and at the same time a physical master. Maybe, we really have a chance. Foz agreed cautiously. Yes, just kill this guy. Killing Roy will definitely cost less than going to war with Marine. This is the easiest way at the moment. Everyone agreed. Even Kaido nodded, then picked up the stick next to him and put it in the newspaper. By the time the stick was removed, Roy's face in the newspaper was shattered. Strangle this genius scientist in the cradle, Kaido said slowly. Roy can't continue to grow, or the consequences will be unimaginable. To ensure the success rate of the mission, we should first collect all of Roy's intelligence, Ember suggested. They still knew too little about Roy. And if you want to assassinate a person, you must at least find out where the other party lives, as well as the usual security level. That's right, all the intelligence. Kaido nodded, his eyes flashing with a little anger. Grand Line, New World Ideographic Period. On an island, the Red Hair Pirates cadres gathered here, and the lively banquet had just ended. Everyone was drunk and lying crooked in the room. Unknown ballads are hummed in the mouth, good things are happy. At this time, a seagull fell outside the window, with several newspapers in his mouth. Oh, it's the latest newspaper, give me a copy. Beckman climbed up and put a gold coin in his hand in the bag under the seagull's neck. Unexpectedly, the seagull shook his head. Price increase. Beckman was surprised and threw another gold coin into the bag. The seagull then dropped a newspaper on the ground and turned and flew somewhere else. Oops, news is getting more and more expensive. Beckman smiled wryly and picked up the paper. The World Economic Journal, the most popular newspaper in the world. The fundamental reason lies in the special way in which the world economic news is delivered. Even on the sea, you can still get the latest newspapers. This is a way of communication that even the world government can't do. Therefore, even if the price rises, you can only choose to accept it. No one wants to be abandoned by the world, and no one wants to know some news at sea as soon as possible, make decisions as soon as possible, and avoid losses. When he saw what was in the paper, Beckman's expression froze. Standing by the window for 10 minutes. The rest of the pirates didn't notice Beckman's situation at all. Head, take a look at this. It was a long time before Beckman rushed in front of the redhead. What's wrong? The redhead was drunk and hazy, and he still held a wine bottle in his hand. When you speak, you still don't forget to take a bite of yourself. Look at this report, Sendo. Beckman was very excited about the content of Fairy Beans. Beckman's shout quickly caught the attention of others. They all stopped dancing and gathered around, their eyes focused on the newspaper. After reading the contents of the newspaper, everyone's wine sobered up. That guy Kaido actually planted a head in the G6 branch and was seriously injured. Burning Mountain is definitely not Kaido's opponent, the key is the lightsaber. Marine's weapon can cut off Kaido, which is so defensive. I am afraid that it is more powerful than we think, and we must be prepared. Kaido, this is an enemy that he has taken the initiative to provoke, and he can't deal with it. Everyone was talking about it, and an expression of schadenfreude appeared on their faces. Kaido is deflated, which is a good thing for them. The four emperors are in competition. Kaido's fading strength is their chance. And the people who develop these products are really young. Usopp lamented Roy's youth. At this age, he is still a simple young man with dreams, and he has not even become a red-haired partner. Marine has produced an amazing scientific genius. I think it has surpassed Vegapunk. Lime Jones was shocked. Vegapunk, that's the scientist who scared pirates before, the treasure of the world government. Now there's another monster even more powerful than Vegapunk. What will happen in the future is already difficult to imagine. The balance of the sea has tilted and is about to be broken. The redhead said slowly. This sentence made everyone show excitement. Not only are they not afraid of the chaos that is coming. Instead, they're all eager to try. After all, they are not timid pirates, but one of the dignified four emperors, a cadre under the redhead. Hey, the key is the fairy beans. Beckman shouted helplessly. Fairy beans. Everyone looked at the redhead's severed arm in unison. The wound was wrapped in a broken sleeve, but everyone knew about the wound that had been bitten by the Sea Kings. It's still hideous and terrifying. Rebirth from a severed limb. Let's go to Marine and grab one, Usopp suggested. This proposal was immediately responded to by everyone. That's right, go grab one. I see this product from Marine that was developed for our head. This opportunity can't be missed, let the boss's arm grow back. For a moment, everyone roared excitedly. Since the redhead broke his arm, although he was still in the position of the four emperors. But there are already many rumors that the redhead's strength is not as good as before. This is not for nothing. After a person breaks his arm, how can he be the same as before? Even the last time the redhead met Hawkeye at East Blue. The other party also said that he was not interested in the red hair with a broken arm. When the redhead's arm recovers, these doubts will disappear immediately. Compared to the excitement of the crew, the redhead was silent for a long time before speaking. Hockey is the only one in this world. I don't need any fairy beans. Quote. Hockey is the only one. Everyone nodded one after another. They were well aware of the strength of the redhead, not the weakening of the outside rumors. On the contrary, over the years, the red-haired Hockey has become more and more yellow. The strength has reached the point of unfathomability. It's just that no one has dared to provoke the redhead, so the name is not loud. But if someone else upsets that balance, I don't mind making a move, even to Marine. The redhead then smiled slightly. Captain Hockey's speech made everyone applaud. It was precisely because of his trust in the redhead that everyone rallied around him. In addition to these, I have one more thing to worry about, that is, ace of the second team of the Whitebeard pirates. I am afraid that something will happen to chase Blackbeard. Beckman frowned. Yes, it's time to act. The redhead stood up, completely undrunk. Headman, where are you going? Usopp was curious. Go find Whitebeard. The redhead's tone was like going to chat with the neighbor's boss. It's easy to overlook, but the person he's looking for is the four emperors. 4 emperors make contact. This news alone was enough to shake the whole world. Even they were shocked, let alone others. Hee, it should be Marine who is nervous now. Usopp laughed. That's right, and Auntie and Kaido. Lemji nodded. Only Beckman sensed that it was the redhead who was really stressed. Marine's recent series of actions indicate that Marine's strength will become stronger. That's why redheads went looking for Whitebeard. And not just for Blackbeard's thing. The peace maintained in the era of the sea pirates is coming to an end. Who will dominate the next era? Beckman unconsciously looked at the handsome face in the newspaper. New World, Cake Island. The atmosphere was very solemn, all because of the newspaper sent today. Kaido is seriously injured. This news worries them in particular. Even when Auntie stuffed cake into her mouth, there was no smile or satisfaction on her face. Lightsabers, a subversive weapon. Even Kaido couldn't resist. Quote, what kind of weapon is this, so powerful? The user is a small character in Marine, just Vice Admiral's Burning Mountain. There was a lot of talk, all worried. Burning Mountains can seriously injure Kaido. What if it's another powerhouse in Marine, like Admiral? Wouldn't Kaido be killed on the spot? In particular, Kaido took the initiative to attack the G6 branch. If the identities of both sides are reversed, it becomes a premeditated ambush by Marine. Can Kaido still be just seriously injured? What everyone didn't say, that is, can my mother resist the power of the lightsaber? Although Auntie has the title of Steel Balloon, her defense is very strong. Ordinary swords will be bounced away when slashed on the body. But Auntie is Paramecia after all, and Kaido is Zone. Zone fruit, fish fruit, phantom beast species, blue dragon form. He was once executed 40 times without injury, and was turned into an undead monster by the world. Unpleasant news, even breakfast has become unpalatable. The aunt wiped her mouth with a handkerchief, looking unhappy. A large pile of empty plates on the table. For first-time people, it's hard to believe that this is just Auntie's breakfast. Marine is stronger, even Kaido can't resist it, what should we do? Longbread is very worried. Not only the Longbread, but also the expressions of the other members of the family are ugly. In their hearts, Mom has always been as powerful as a monster. Once this image collapses, they feel insecure. What are you afraid of? Did just the news in the newspaper make your legs weak? Auntie slapped the table angrily. Syllable. The table fell apart, instantly calmed everyone down, and even the atmosphere did not dare to breathe. A bunch of cowards. Auntie scanned everyone and showed disappointed eyes. Even with so many family members, there are few who really satisfy her. Mom, we should pay attention to this news and pay close attention to Marine's movements. Finally, Katakuri stood up and said. After seeing that the person who spoke was Katakuri, the ant's anger decreased slightly. Well, Marine has made so many big moves, we can't sit still. Auntie nodded and agreed with Katakuri. Well, if you do it now, the timing is not right. Puro said cautiously. Unlike Katakuri, he understands that he is the eldest son. But it was not taken seriously by my mother. Let Kaido and Marine fight to the death, and then they will take advantage of the opportunity. This is the strategy developed at the previous breakfast meeting. Left unattended by Marine's scientist Roy, it would be unthinkably destructive, and it would tilt further toward Marine, Katakuri responded. Especially now that Kaido is seriously injured and has been at a disadvantage in the battle with Marine. If Kaido is finished, it's their turn. What Katakuri wants to see is that both Marine and Kaido have suffered heavy losses. And it is not a complete fiasco on one side, which is not the slightest benefit to the Ant Pirates. Since you have seen this, then tell your way. Of course, Auntie realized this earlier. Marine has become so powerful lately because of this man. I can go to the park and kill this man in the cradle if I have the chance. Don't give him a chance to grow up. Quote. Katakuri said, pointing to Roy's face in the newspaper. Kill Roy. Auntie doesn't know if mass production of bamboo dragonflies and lightsabers can continue without Roy. But it can certainly give Marine a heavy blow. No more popping up with some unbelievable product. It's up to you. After thinking for a long time, Big Ma eventually agreed with Katakuri's decision. Somewhere in New World, the Moby Dick. Everyone was surprised and shocked. Today's news reports far exceed their knowledge of the world. It's unimaginable that Immortal Bean's ability actually possesses the same miraculous effect as my fruit. In particular, the crew member Marco had a very complicated expression on his face. As an ability in the form of birds, fruits, phantom beasts, and immortal birds, Marco is proud of his abilities. Not just one of the top 5 flying capabilities. When transformed into an immortal bird in beast form, the blue flame wrapped around it also has a healing effect. It can increase the healing speed of wounds, which is called regenerative inflammation. The recovery speed of my wound has increased even more. It can be said that this fruit of Marco, anyone who sees it will be moved, an absolute rarity. However, first there was the appearance of bamboo dragonflies, so that the ability to fly no longer became rare. Immediately afterwards, the fairy bean reappeared, and the severed limb was reborn, curing any disease. It's just between breaths. I don't know how much stronger than Marco's ability. This gave Marco the illusion that Marine's research was not directed at himself. It's hard to imagine how. Science is amazing. The guy called Roy is still so young. What the future holds. Quote. The other members of the ship also looked shocked. If we also have fairy beans, can we treat Daddy's body? Joe said, staring at the newspaper in his hand. He read the newspaper many times to find out the efficacy of fairy beans. It has now been determined that Sendo can repair all the pain. Even if it is an old disease in the past, can still be cured. So that the use of new vitality and strength becomes stronger. As soon as these words came out, everyone's faces changed drastically. They all looked at Whitebeard sitting on the bow. Whitebeard was holding a huge wine bowl in his hand, drinking as much as they did. But the huge wine bowl can't ignore that the several infusion tubes inserted in Whitebeard's body are alleviating Whitebeard's symptoms. For so many years, Whitebeard's body was crisscrossed with wounds. These wounds were not the cause of Whitebeard's weakness. Heart disease. That's what really plagues Whitebeard. Perennial pirate career, as well as excessive drinking. As a result, Whitebeard's older Sengoku and Garp, among others, are getting older faster. It is also the worst one in these people's bodies. In addition to the above reasons, Whitebeard also suffers from the side effects of shock fruit. This fruit has the great power to destroy the heavens and the earth. Of all the 3 known fruits, the most destructive in attack range. Known as the strongest paramecia fruit. However, like many devil fruits, such as the enclosure, it will make the capable person have diarrhea for a long time. Dark fruit, which makes users suffer twice as much pain. Shock fruit also has extremely strong side effects. While exerting great power, it will also cause vibration to the user's body. If it weren't for Whitebeard's physical strength, others would have fallen on the side effects. Heart disease is caused by the use of fruit over many years. As you get older, Whitebeard is less and less able to use it. Otherwise, it may not be the enemy who falls, but Whitebeard itself. Let's go help Daddy and snatch the fairy beans from Marine. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.